I'd like to ask everybody to take their seats, please. Didn't even have to dim the lights. Wow, well-behaved group. Got to refill that. Okay. The regular meeting of the Morristown Township Board of Education is called to order. This meeting is called in conformance with the Open Public Meetings Act with adequate notice provided as follows. Notice filed with the Courier Post on July 1, 2021, and filed with the Burlington County Times on July 1, 2021. I'd like to ask everyone if we can think about all of the recent victims of gun violence that have been occurring in our country while we have this moment of silence, please. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
And to the republic for which one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, everyone. Mr. Heiser, could you please proceed with the roll call?
Dr. Alberti.
Here.
Mrs. Arcaro Burns. Mrs. Fallows Macaluso. Mrs. Makopoulos. Mrs. Morano. Ms. Romano. Mr. Villanueva. Dr. Snyder.
Here.
Mr. Weeks.
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you. First, Mrs. Arcaro Burns had asked me to make it clear to the public. She apologizes for not being able to be here as indication that the pandemic isn't necessarily over. She recently tested positive for COVID and is isolating due to that. So she regrets that she was not able to be here tonight. Okay, the board did already meet in executive session. So we will move past that item. Okay. So moving on, we'll start with the approval of the minutes from the previous.
Who do you want to message?
No, thanks, Siri. Approval of the minutes from May 17th and May 31st, both executive sessions and the regular meetings.
Yes.
Oh, right. Okay. So then just approval of the minutes for May 31st. Okay. All in, any comments or questions? Amendments? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay, it's noted. All right, that carries. Thank you. Any communications from the board? Anything anybody wants to share?
So for More Arts, I just wanted to, I'm the liaison to More Arts, and I just wanted to share that they recently awarded 6 scholarships to graduating seniors who've been active in the arts during their high school years. So congratulations. More Arts hosted an ice cream social on June 7th to recognize 36 underclassmen who are actively involved in the fine and performing arts. These students have been selected by their teachers for their talent, hard work, and dedication to receive these non-monetary awards. So congratulations for that. More Arts was honored to sponsor the district art show and the vocal performances at the Morristown Community House on June 4th. This was the first time they moved to the community house and got a lot of great feedback for it. And they did a combined show with the Madrigals, the Whams Choir, and the MHS Theater. So this was all a collaboration with the MEA, who staffed the art show, the Buildings and Grounds Department, who collected and delivered the student artwork, and the art teachers throughout the district who curated the event. So they wanted to share a big thank you to everybody for their help. I also just want to acknowledge the Morristown High School Theater Program did win an award, the 2022 Paper Mill Playhouse Rising Star Theater Award for their access and inclusion for the spring musical honk. So congratulations. The Paper Mill Playhouse is a pretty well-known theater up in North Jersey. And so congratulations to all of you.
Thank you for sharing that. Any other communications? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on. The president's remarks. Yeah, it is the highlight of this, right? Thank you for saying that. Good evening and thanks to everybody for attending. I suspect many of you are here to get a better understanding of how things are going in our negotiations with the Morristown Education Association. I will speak to that in a moment, but wanted to start with something else first. So as I mentioned with the moment of silence, we're all shocked and saddened and angered by the violence that unfolded in Uvalde, Texas a few weeks ago, and the other incidents around the country and even close to home in Philadelphia. I can't imagine a person who's not been dismayed, disgusted, and angered at the repeated occurrence of these types of horrific events. I feel reassured, though, that in our district, we have undertaken prevention efforts, including the physical security upgrades put in place over the last several years, the efforts made with the I Love You Guys Foundation, the social emotional learning curricula and programs, the school safety certifications for key staff, and providing access to mental health resources via Care Solace and other programs. In short, our schools continue to be safe places for students, teachers, staff, and our larger educational community. And we are always open to looking at other options to improve. Not sure this one's. Thanks. At the same time, we also continue to prioritize making our educational spaces welcoming and conducive to learning. So Mr. Volpe will speak a bit more about this and the timeline for further discussion in his remarks. So moving on, though, to the negotiation conversation, we appreciate those of you who have shared your thoughts and concerns and those who may plan to share them tonight. I suspect there might be a few people. But the sharing their concerns about the ongoing negotiations with the Morristown Education Association over a new contract. Many of you have sought to remind us of how well our education staff has performed and served our students and community before, during, and as we hopefully exit this pandemic. We appreciate hearing those comments, as it is an affirmation of all that is going right in our district. And for that, we are very pleased. Thankfully, these negotiations are frankly not about concern over performance or lack of respect for what our educators do every day. In fact, what we as a negotiating committee and as a board are focused on is fairness. We began this process with that intent in mind because fairness is a notion, at least that we believe, that can be appreciated by all involved, the teachers, the students, and the community. Of course, fairness can and needs to be discussed as to how it pertains to each. That is the point of the negotiations, but it is a focus that we felt was important to guide us through this process. Our district is a model of excellence because of the cooperation and efforts of all of these groups, and it will take attention to fairness for all of these groups to maintain that excellence in the future. As I've previously said and continue to say, I and the members of this board have the utmost respect and admiration for our teachers. They're the ones that care for our students and have gone above and beyond during the challenges of the past 2 years. Last Thursday afternoon, I happened to be on Main Street taking my son to his karate class. I came across the MEA sharing their message there. I usually sit inside the karate studio and watch the class. However, this time I stayed out on the street so I could have some conversations. I took the opportunity to express my thanks for their efforts, convey my understanding of their frustration, and to answer questions about the intent of the board in these negotiations. For some, perhaps who didn't know me, it was just a passing hello, but for many whom I already knew, or those that I had the great opportunity to meet that afternoon, we had longer conversations. My interest in talking was genuine, and I hope those with whom I spoke felt that. My approach to these negotiations, along with that of my colleagues, has been the same. Let's engage each other with respect, recognize our agreements and disagreements, and work to overcome them. We are also aware of some sobering information, which I feel is important for everyone to be aware of and that we keep in the front of our minds. I read in the Philadelphia Inquirer a few weeks ago that nationally, the number of students completing teacher education programs has dropped 25% in the last 10 years. And while that is concerning, even more concerning is that the percentage is double in New Jersey and Pennsylvania, over 50%. Recruiting new teachers currently is and is going to be a growing issue going forward. At the same time, the National Education Association reports that 55% of its members, or 55% of members surveyed, hope not 55% of its members, but 55% of members were considering leaving the profession, up from 37% just under a year ago. That means that in order to attract and retain the best teachers, we are going to need to be mindful of both our recruitment and retention structures in this and subsequent labor agreements. And that is something we want to be fair to everyone about. For example, the board entered into this process with an expectation of an increase in line with local and state averages and have upheld that expectation throughout the negotiations. We want to make it attractive to come here and to stay here, and we have not wavered from that commitment. Let's talk about fairness when it comes to our students. Our students, specifically our seniors for whom these are the last days of their educational journey with us, deserve to have all of the experiences with their teachers over these last days of school. The teachers are the ones who went above and beyond through these challenging times. They know, we know, they care, and will continue to put the students first above all else, and will find ways to work to advocate for themselves that do not involve giving students less. I attended the senior awards ceremony last week on my wife's birthday, mind you, not the best decision. Sorry, hon, if you're watching. But 2/3 of the graduating class is graduating with honors. The list of scholarships and awards for service and other academic performance was quite long. The stage in the Eisenberg gym was not big enough to hold all of the students. That takes a significant level of investment by our teachers, parents, and especially students. We owe it to students to honor their achievements and set aside our differences out of respect for them. It's only fair as far as they are concerned. And for the community, we as stewards of this district need to be fair by providing stability and consistency. I've repeatedly said that we need to achieve a fiscally and operationally sustainable contract. The expectation is that this district will continue to provide a world-class educational experience with the goal of our students becoming world-class learners and world-class citizens. Many of you have said that you moved here because of the educational offerings. I and several of my colleagues grew up here and we graduated from these schools. We chose to stay here because we wanted the same or better for our children. It's only fair that we take into consideration what our community demands and deserves when making decisions in these negotiations. We cannot decide things now that diminish or inhibit our ability to continue to provide the unparalleled educational opportunities we have here. That is what is meant by fiscally and operationally sustainable, and that is what is fair for the community. So in summary, the goal is to be fair to all and to find the balances that are needed to do so. We as a negotiating committee and as the whole of the board are committed to doing that duty which we were elected to do. There have been many rounds of negotiations and some progress has been made. Parts of this have been settled and signed off on. To keep things moving along, we agreed to engage in the state-provided third-party mediation process. There are further steps in that process, including the next one called fact-finding. We are willing and eager to engage in that process or direct talks or anything that helps move this forward, preferably before the expiration of the current contract on June 30th. I will say again, we really did not expect to be working on this at this point. However, since we are, my hope and expectation is that the board and the MEA can focus all of their energies on direct talks with each other or full engagement in the mediated processes available. We owe it to the educators, the community, and especially the students to find the ability to continue to be the exceptional district that we know we can be. And that is one where everyone works towards understanding and achieving fairness for all. Thank you. Mr. Volpe.
Thank you, President Weeks. Before my formal remarks, I'd like to introduce our Director of Human Resources, Ms. Butler, who is going to celebrate the careers of a few of your members who are retiring this year, and I think we have some of them here in the audience tonight.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to ask if you are here tonight to please come down
I just prepared a little bit to speak about your honor here and working with us. Our first retiree tonight is John Bishop. He is retiring after being with us for the past 32 years as a media specialist at our high school. John has helped the district in so many ways, aiding the building with any tech issues, serving as a tech coordinator and on the district tech committee for several years. He helped operate the auditorium when in need of tech help. He's led several student-based clubs. He lends his knowledge and expertise to The Voice, which is the student newspaper. He has worked with his peers to support the SEL committee at the high school. He has been working over several years to compile a complete history of Morristown. We wish John all the best in his next venture. Charlotte Sharheenan. Are you here? Shar is retiring after 26 years as a health and physical education teacher at WAMS. She began her career here as a long-term substitute, and because she did such an excellent job, we decided to keep her. She's acted as a WAMS athletic faculty manager for many years. She has served on several building-based committees, offering her points of view. She coached 8th grade field. I was waiting for that. She coached 8th grade field hockey and the golf club before it became a recognized sport. She's an NCAA and NJSIAA field hockey referee. We wish Shar all the best in her next chapter of life.
No, I don't need a microphone. Those of you staff members that are here that I taught, raise your hand. Come on now. I know some of you are trying to wipe it from your memory. Okay? But I'm very proud of all of you that I taught, that came back here to teach here because you wanted to give back to your community. And I hope that the way things go with with the budget process and the negotiations, that you can continue to do that. Keep up the good fight.
Lawrence Larry Johnson. Stay right here, Larry. Don't go anywhere. Larry's retiring after 30 years, starting out for us as a business teacher and ending his career as a school counselor. Hold on. At the high school, Larry was a freshman football coach for many years. He led students in a few clubs, the stock market, and webpage editor. In the counseling department, he was the acting liaison at the Rowan College of Burlington County as the Spring Ahead coordinator for our high school seniors. He's also the liaison for the Girls Career Institute, which provides a mini college experience for girls by providing an opportunity to live in a dorm, attend lectures and workshops at the Douglas Residential College on the Rutgers campus. Besides sampling college life, students learn more about their career choices and how to network, oftentimes creating friendships with other girls from across the state. We wish Larry all the best in his next phase of life.
I also don't need a microphone. And it was good. I also have people in here, they're staff members that were my students too. So, hey, great to have you. And I always enjoyed all my kids, your families. So thank you for 30 awesome years. Yeah.
Barbie Kelleher is retiring with us after 18 years as a Spanish reading and math support teacher. Over her career with us, she has supported students in 5 of our 6 schools, the high school being the one that she missed. She was well known for her singing and dancing, passing along her passion for the Spanish language and the culture to her students. Barbie has already moved from New Jersey, starting her retirement life in North Carolina, and we wish her well. Miss Marjorie Lipinski. Is she here? News to some people, I see. Hold on to your hats, everybody. She is retiring after 48 years of teaching here in Morristown. She started her career at the middle school teaching language arts and finished her career teaching English at the high school. She's led a few student clubs during her years at the high school. Margie was a mentor teacher, helped write curriculum. She has a passion for gardening, which I heard, page turner. She's got grand plans to become a master gardener with her sister. We will miss her dry sense of humor and her highly organizational skills for the English book room. We wish her all the best. Judy Mirror, Judith, Judy Mirror, Muri. Is she here? Judy. Any Judy? All right, Judy is not here. Judy Muri is retiring from us after 19 years and 8 of teaching and 8 years of being a paraprofessional. She's provided educational and emotional support to our neediest students. She became certified to teach the Orton Gillingham and Wilson reading programs. She tutored our students throughout the school year and summer. Judy has supported the multi-disabled classroom through teaching life skills to our students on how to read recipes and then how to cook following those recipes. Judy is very talented in painting and cooking. She makes an awesome pasta visual. If you've not had it, you got to get it. We wish her all the best following her career here in Morristown. All right, she's here. She's ready. So she says, Margaret Pegballora. She is retiring after 25 years at the William Allen Middle School. Over her career, she has taught our most highly achieving students as well as struggling students, working hard to close that gap. She taught summer school and helped to organize WAM's summer tutoring program. Peg has been highly involved in the West Jersey Reading Council, holding a leadership role for many years. She served on several committees at WAMS. Peg was happy to use her knowledge of teaching, acting as a mentor for several new teachers. She annually organizes fundraisers to support a variety of organizations through Casual for a Cause. We wish her all the best, spending especially that time with her grandchildren.
"25 years, it's fast. To everybody out there in red, I truly believe that this is a calling. So do it honorably as you always have. As Mr. Weeks just attested, as I see before us, the proof is what we do. It has been fabulous. Thank you all.
That is my report for tonight. Thank you.
Again, if I can ask for just one more round of applause for all of our retirees.
Mike, I just have to say, like many, I was surprised to see Marjorie Lipinski's name on this list. But it was really an honor to be one of her former students and to be the one that signed that for her. So I'm sorry she wasn't here, but I hope to get to see her again to thank her in person for all that she did. I used a word in our meeting tonight that I said concatenate or something. I think I learned it in her class. She was such a great English teacher. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that. So I'll hopefully get to tell her.
Thank you so much. As this is our last board meeting for the year, I'd like to take this time to thank the students, the staff, and the community of Morristown for making me feel welcome and a part of this incredible community. I also want to thank everyone here for successfully navigating yet another challenging year in the wake of a pandemic, along with the typical challenges of any school year and a transition in leadership. From my point of view, it has indeed been a fantastic but hectic 6 months since I've been here. And I look forward to the journey we will continue on into the next school year. Part of what I have tried to accomplish in the first 6 months that I have been here is to establish trust with students, the staff, and the community. And it'll be important for me to continue to do so. There are a few ways in which I hopefully accomplished this so far to date. Upon my arrival, I had stated that we would do everything in our power to keep schools open for in-person instruction and not pivot to remote instruction due to COVID. With the help of all the staff in front of me, we were able to do so. I stated that we would employ reasonable health measures in order to be a mask optional district and not implement a local mandate stating that everybody needs to wear a mask at all times. We followed through on that. As improved efforts in communications were a high priority for the district, this was a focus of mine as well. Based on anecdotal feedback from some of you sitting in the audience, we have improved in this area and we will continue to do so. When there was a community crisis 2 weekends ago, where people were worried about the safety and security of our schools, I had stated that when schools open on Monday, we would take some extra precautions, but assured the community and staff that we would have a safe and typical day of school. We did so. Finally, on multiple occasions and in a variety of formats, I have promised and still promise that people can meet individually with me if they feel that their questions to any issues have not been answered. I feel I've delivered upon that as well. I set this stage of building trust, not to give myself any kind of pat on the back, just because I'm going to ask you to take a leap of faith with me, leap of faith, as I look to build upon that trust while engaging in my next level of work heading into the next school year. Very broadly, some of my goals that I have for next year include the following. First up, I want to develop and showcase a spirit of inclusiveness. This is one area in which I feel that I and our school district have room for growth. I've heard from some people about ways in which they do not feel heard, seen, or known in Morristown. I want to change that. If you are someone who feels this way, I want to be very clear. You don't have to look at anyone else on this dais. The buck stops with me. Personally, I feel that maybe I could have done a little bit more in this area this year, regardless of circumstances. It will be a priority of mine as we move forward. I want every member of this community to know that they are valued for who they are and the contributions that they bring forward. And I look forward to partnering with you in order to showcase that. Second broad general priority is I want to improve our safety and security measures. And President Weeks touched upon this. But since the beginning of my career in administration, a top priority of mine has been to create and provide a safe and comfortable environment in which high quality learning can take place. It still is to this day. Since my arrival, I've been looking at the ways in which we do this in Morristown and where our gaps might be. My administrative team and I are already working on addressing any safety and security procedures or items needing attention. And it is my intent to provide the community with a common baseline understanding as to where we are in this area at the August board meeting before the start of the school year, so we all know where we are. A final goal, broad goal that I'm looking at next year is continuing to find gaps in our student achievement and addressing them. This is the best school district I've ever worked in, and I had to count today, 6 school districts, by far the best, and it shows in our student performance results. We set a high bar for achievement, and most of our children leap over that bar. However, not everyone always does. And I want to ensure that every student is receiving an outstanding education. This may involve us looking differently or reflectively and critically at student achievement data, as well as ourselves. If a student can't reach that bar, it isn't simply enough for me to say, keep trying. Where most students can get there, why can't you? It involves us meeting the students where they are, providing faculty and staff any needed resources and professional development to help any such student, and then analyzing the effectiveness of our efforts. If we engage in that type of feedback loop, we can make sure that every student is seen, known, heard, and receives an outstanding education. Now, before I get too far ahead about next year, we still have 3 days of school left, which will be filled with some fun and celebratory activities. Our elementary schools have a variety of activities that students are looking forward to. At the middle school, we have our 8th grade dance. I believe that's actually happening, is that tonight, right now? Yes, which is taking place right now. And at our high school, graduation is in sight. But before then, we have some class-wide activities for our seniors before we celebrate their commencement this Friday afternoon. So still many other things to look forward to. And I have to say, again, retirees, congratulations. Someone said that this is I believe at the microphone, this is a calling or this is a vocation. This truly is. And I appreciate the efforts that you gave over the course of your career, and best of luck in your retirement. And that ends my report for today.
Thanks, Mr. Volpe. Thank you, Mr. Volpe. Okay, so moving on. Now we'd like to hear from our students that are here, and I am elated to see that with 3 days left in school, we have the senior class representative here. That's commitment, Ms. Huron.
Goodness. Hello, my name is Claire Huron. I am your senior class liaison for the very last night. So exciting. Thank you. I haven't done nearly as much as all of you sitting out here, but thank you very much for that little applause. Tonight, I had a lot going on, and I didn't get a full chance to speak through my speech, so we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I'm your senior class liaison for the last night. And there was I don't want to say a lot of pressure to perform super well, but I heard a lot about my last month's speech in the following weeks, which was super nice. It was really, really endearing that anybody was listening. You guys are my best audience, second to my mom. I didn't realize how much Seinfeld I had been watching until I accidentally gave a stand-up routine when I was supposed to give a 2-minute, hey, I'm on student council. Yeah, and it's good. Public speaking is great, but I decided that I needed to step up my game for tonight. For my parents, it's the first board meeting and maybe their last, but they're in the back just staring me down. So if I'm a little nervous, that's why. But tonight, as your senior liaison, I will be talking about our senior week, as I've been calling it, the culmination of our 4th year of high school. It officially started, so it's a week and a half on a Tuesday. It was the biggest showing of board members that I'd seen all year. It was Mr. Weeks and Mr. Villanueva were sitting at the front table, and that was it. And then it was the biggest event of the year. They were all knocking down doors to get in. And then it was 2/3 of the senior class, and we were celebrated for our accomplishments. I have my cord, and I got a medal for being on student council. I took all the Olympic pictures. We were biting the gold to see if it's real. It was really good. So that started, and it was really nice to just celebrate all the seniors, the departmental awards, and just acknowledge those who worked super hard in their 4 years to get where they are in the colleges that they'll be attending. And then senior week really started for me on Thursday because I was interrupted by Miss Russo, one of our senior class advisors in 4th period, but it's only fair because I interrupt her class all the time with these random questions like, hey, is this happening? And it's super vague. And she also doesn't really know based off. And then we bounce back ideas, and then we eventually have a consensus, and it's fine. We move on with the rest of our day. But she knocked on Mr. Orak's door in my computer science class and was like, you're in charge of the senior prank now. Okay. So that took place on Monday and also a little bit on Friday. So it was me and a couple other seniors. Grayson was in charge of it. He's standing in the front here. And a couple other seniors worked super hard all Thursday. And we did that early morning on Monday. We got there at 5:30. The only day seniors are willing to wake up early is to bubble wrap the entire school. We had a couple of classic pranks going on. We had some balloons, business cards, cellophane. And as a huge fan of The Office, I was like, yes, I've watched so many intros of Jim totally annihilating Dwight with all these pranks. And I was like, I can finally put these into practice. But I didn't realize that The Office isn't as timeless as I thought it was, because I wanted to take Mr. Seibel's phone and fill it with quarters over a month. I wanted to add one more every single day until on Monday, he would pick up the phone to make his angry phone calls, and it would hit him right in the face because all the weight was gone. But then I realized that cell phones exist, and if you try and jam a nickel into your iPhone, it's not really going to work that much anymore. So we couldn't do that. But the seniors really enjoyed our senior prank on Monday. And they also did anything but a backpack, which is a thing on TikTok where you don't bring a backpack. So we had guitar cases and laundry baskets and coolers and massive wheelbarrows filled with textbooks to return on the last day of school, which wasn't the most efficient, but it was really fun. Just you could pick out all the seniors in the hallways. Not that we're not super intimidating and huge all the other days. They had funny things carrying around the hallways. That was nice to kind of unify our class one more time on the last day of classes. And today was our senior picnic, the first of our official administration events. We had some cornhole, we had some washers, little like fun lawn games that took place in the MAC and outside. We had Mr. Softy catered by Mr. Seibel grilling in front. It was really fun. We're just like hanging out, spending some final time together. I signed, my wrist was really sore from signing so many yearbooks. Just everyone signed my yearbook. Liaison, we need you. Yeah, it was really nice. And I did learn, there's like the saying, you learn something new every day. And I was like, oh, no more high school. That's done. No more learning every day. Until today, I learned not to challenge people to lawn games until you know you can play them. I'm terrible at washers. Terrible. So that's what I learned today, is to practice before you challenge people to games. And tomorrow we will have our first grad rehearsal. It's going to be inside the MAC. We're going to be reading the names, just getting the kind of like how to. You're going to probably walk on the stage, file back down a couple times. So it's a muscle memory. And then we'll have one more on Thursday after our senior breakfast. I heard Mr. Williams makes a mean omelet, so I'm looking forward to that. You'll have your senior breakfast, and then we'll have an outdoor rehearsal at 11:45 on Thursday, which will take us to our graduation on Friday. Oh my goodness, 6:30. I expect everybody to be here. The turf, it will fit everyone, don't you worry. There will be the madrigals, and the band will be at the performance, or not the performance, at the commencement ceremony, and you'll hear speeches from your senior officers, valedictorian, and salutatorian. Yeah, you know, classic graduation. You've been to one, you've been to them all, but I like remember that I'm graduating like once a week. It's like, oh yay, it's finally here. Everyone asks, are you ready? I'm so ready. I'm so ready. Oh my goodness. But honestly, just hearing the retirees, this is the first year that I've actually known all of the retirees that are announced at the end of the year. And it got me all choked up, like all like, you know, coming from the elementary schools all the way up, and just like, this is like my family, this is my community. And it's sad that you're gonna miss them. And with that, I would like to give my final thank you as a liaison. I would like to thank the teachers specifically. I don't know if anybody was here last June, but there was a different turnout last June. A similar amount of people in the audience, but they had different signs and a different message, and it wasn't as pretty. Pretty terrifying, not gonna lie. Yeah, we have one up front, not anyway as violent, but it was really stressful time as a liaison. I was like, do I leave, do I stay? The board took a pause, and then they came back, and that was comforting. I was all right, at least there's 25 adults in the front to protect the 3 teenagers sitting with Mr. Panny right there. But with tonight, I know there's a little tension in the room with everything that's going on, but it's really nice to see that everybody here just wants to provide the best experience for their students possible. We all appreciate it. You'll hear from us individually, but we're all working towards a common goal of having a very successful and very educational year. And I really appreciate everybody here, students or teachers, or just community members, trying to get the best out of tonight and out of the next few school years. I'd like to thank the board for having me back, even after my long rambling speeches. I started my sophomore year, and it's definitely been a wild ride. I remember my first meeting, I was late, and they happened to take a picture, and I wasn't in it. That's okay. I remember calling Kara Patricki, who is the liaison for the grade above me, and I was like freaking out, and she was about to speak, but I run in and give this, hey, I'm a sophomore, thanks for having me, and then I sit back down. It's a little bit different than tonight, but it was really great, and I found a family. I like to think that I'm, you know, herding these little cats around, saying, don't say that, or no, go for it, come on, you're funny, do it, you got it. But you know, I found my little family. I like to see them in the hallway, and the board has done a lot over these past couple of years. They had a lot of initiatives over COVID. I was a part of their race relations committee with academic achievements, and I honestly didn't understand how much work was done behind the scenes until I was a part of it, and I really appreciated the opportunity to be involved. And I'm not a person of color, but it was nice. They invited everybody to just say, like, how do you succeed in high school and throughout elementary school? And you know, they got different opinions, and together we worked to form a solution. And I really appreciate them asking members of the community and students as well. I'd like to congratulate the retirees. A very strong lineup tonight. I was really impressed by everybody, but it was really nice to you know, hear how long you've been with the district and how long you've supported the students and the families. And thank you everybody for having me. Have a great night.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Lucas McGill, your junior class Board of Ed liaison. Before sending students off for Memorial Day weekend, we debuted a brand new event called the Quaker Games. Similar to Pep Rally, the grades competed in various events, including musical chairs, human bowling, and a fan favorite, Bigfoot walkers. We had students wearing leis and Hawaiian shirts to build excitement for the afternoon events, and we had a full school lunch in the MAC with burgers, hot dogs, and other traditional barbecue food. From everything I've heard, students seem to love it, and overall, it was a great way for everyone to relax and have fun before a long weekend. Junior year has been a blast from start to finish. There were fantastic school-wide events like Spirit Week, Pep Rally, and even our first prom. I personally have had a productive year of working on student council, playing on the school volleyball team, performing with a theater program, and singing with the Morristown High School Madrigals. I'm really excited to be a part of these activities one last time for our senior year. Many thanks to our advisors, administration, and all of our teachers for a fantastic school year. We really do appreciate everything you do for us on a daily basis. I look forward to continuing as the class of 2023 Board of Ed liaison next year. Thank you and have a great summer.
Good evening. I'm Peyton Emmel, and I'm also a junior class liaison. And since it's the last meeting, Lucas let me make a small speech too. I agree with Lucas. This has been a fantastic year, and I'm grateful to have the opportunity to present to the board every other month. This year, I've been involved in the theater department, the dance squad, and obviously student council. And I cannot wait to do these activities one last time for my senior year. Next year, I'll be the senior class historian, so I will be running the Instagram again, and I'll be in charge of taking pictures for our class. Thank you to the board and administration for a smooth transition to a normal year, and thank you to all the teachers for the endless support. We students appreciate everything that you do for us to ensure that we get the most out of our school year and our high school careers. Thank you so much.
Good evening, board and teachers. My name is Jack Britton, and I'm your sophomore class liaison. And I have two brief things to update us on tonight. So first, our student council went on a bowling trip. So on Thursday, June 2nd, the Morristown High School Student Council went to Laurel Lanes for our bowling trip this year. As something fun to celebrate because we had a successful year as a student council, and we've done so much for our community and people in the school. We had pizza, drinks, and we bowled for about an hour and a half. It was fun. I personally bowled a 157 that night, which was the best I ever did. So that was good. Yeah, so that was a fun time. The second thing I have to update, which is pretty obscure, maybe people know about it, but it's finals, which are going on this week. We had 2 days of studying, which was on Friday and Monday. And then today was our first set of finals, which was language arts and world language. Tomorrow will be math and then history. And then on Thursday will be science. And then with those out of the way, it will conclude our 2021 to 2022 school year. So I want to wish the board and the teachers a happy summer. I will be grateful to be back here again next year, speaking at these meetings every month.
Hi, everyone. I'm Yvette Wattal, your freshman class liaison. As a freshman this week, we have been having finals. And as if I haven't talked about finals enough, they've been going great. We've had our 2 reading days were very helpful. And so far we took 2 of them, the LA and world history, world language, Spanish. And those went great. So now I'm just going to tell you about some of the things I enjoyed this year. So these guys are just laughing over here. One of the things I enjoyed was Pep Rally. Pep Rally this year was it was amazing. I'd never done anything like it, to see like all 4 grades line up, compete so fiercely and aggressively against each other. And everyone's like riled up and making noise. It's truly a unique experience. And another thing that one of the better things about high school was all the clubs and activities that I was able to get involved with. One of which being tennis. Shout out to Coach Dickerson. Made a lot of friends in tennis, and it was truly amazing. For next year, I'm looking forward to not being the youngest in the high school. Someone smaller to, be nice to. And then I'm nervous for my classes next year, but I feel very prepared. My teachers this year did a great job of getting me ready, and I feel like I'll do great next year. Thank you to my teachers and the board for letting me come every month. And one last thing I'm looking forward to is a sad but happy one. Not only will this be Claire's last meeting, but at least for the next year, this will be my last meeting too, because I was elected to be the sophomore class president. So thank you. So this is my last meeting for the foreseeable future, at least. So thank you all.
Well, thanks to all the students. We'd be remiss if we didn't take the opportunity to thank you. It's really great to have you all come and share your perspective. I have to say, selfishly, it's an added treat because some of you I've known since you were a lot younger. For anybody who thinks Ms. Hearn's stand-up routines are something new, I've been seeing that since, what was it, 6th grade when I started coaching you? Yeah, it was hard to get through soccer practice because Claire was commanding the audience by the goal. But then Miss Emmel and Mr. Britton, my neighbors on the street. So it's really great to see what we're able to do in this community with our school system and have you students come and share your experiences with us and help, frankly, educate us as to what's going on and to have a better understanding there. So we really appreciate everything you've provided for these meetings, and we look forward to those of you who are returning. Those of you who are not, you have an open invitation. Come back anytime, especially, Ms. Hearn. We may need you for comic relief at some points, so come on back. But again, thanks, and can we have another round of applause for our student liaisons? Now, in the past, we've said, if you have schoolwork or homework to do, we know you don't have any. Oh, finals. You've already studied for those. You're also studious. Okay, but please, you're welcome to stay, or you can go and study some more for those finals. Okay, thanks again. All right, so that's a tough act to follow, but we will have our committee chairs go ahead and share their reports. Open to anybody who wants to go first. All right, Lauren with curriculum, please.
Alrighty, curriculum had 2 meetings this month. We met, or since our last session, May 17th. We met Mike Volpe, Karen Benton, Mark Snyder, Sandra Alberti, Cheryl Makopoulos, myself, Kat D'Ambra, Gavin Quinn, and Dave Tate and Jeff Airy were in attendance. First on the agenda was discussing the ETS Science Performance Task Pilot. Mr. Quinn presented information regarding the pilot with the Heat Island Classroom Assessment Task. This would be an educational testing service and Mtps collaboration. During the 2021-2022 school year, teachers participated in the development of the Heat Island class assessment task in collaboration with ETS. They participated in work via Zoom meetings outside of their contracted hours, and they were compensated for this work. ETS would like to use Morristown as a testing school for the collection of data to be used in validating the effectiveness of their work. Morristown would benefit from this relationship through the incorporation of this project into the 7th grade science curriculum for the 22-23 school year and beyond. And all materials for this collaboration will be accessible for the 7th grade science team. The committee was in support of this program moving forward and applauded the teachers' efforts that brought this program forward. Gavin Quinn then presented the grade 6 through 8 science curriculum development update. It was already in the budget, and he kind of went through what was anticipated for grades 6, 7, and 8 with the different curriculum, Inquest, Inner Orbit, and I know there was a third, but I'm not seeing it in the notes, but different curriculum. There would be PD sessions for all the products and how they were incorporated. Grade 8 would pilot the CK12 science curriculum. This would be written over the 2022 summer that is on the agenda for approval with the summer curriculum writing. And the curriculum for grades 6 through 8 will be rewritten to reflect the new products that will be incorporated in the 6 through 8 science curriculum. And there will be the PD sessions following for the new incorporation. We talked about the kind of overall general, how we were going to be piloting and rolling out new curriculum as well. And then we also looked at the 2022-2023 department. We'll look at chemistry and biology curriculum rewrite. Then Dr. Benton reviewed with us the grades 1 through 6 summer 2022 programming, which would include ESY, supplemental ESY for reading and math. We were going to use a combined ESSA and ESSER funding for summer STEAM program for rising first through third graders. And then ESSA at the UES and WAMS program. We also reviewed alternative placement process. I know that comes up a lot on our agenda to approve. And so Dave Tate and Kat D'Amber kind of walked the committee through that process of how students are placed at the school. We reviewed the cost of providing a similar program in-house, and that did not seem at this point to be where we would find any savings, but we'll continue to look for ways to meet the needs of all of our students moving forward. Then we had an update on the comprehensive health and physical education standards. There was a follow-up on the outcomes of conversations regarding the health curriculum over the recent weeks. The district will likely be required to post curriculum online, so we're waiting to do that until there's direction set forth from the state, so there's not double work with that. We did review a sample provided for health and PE curriculum guides. As a district, we're looking for ways to share with parents what they need to make informed decisions and have the information to ask the right questions and know what to ask and who to ask in the clearest way possible. So we're looking to improve the communication with that and the way we're transparent with that information. We're looking to share the big ideas and objectives for each of our curriculum units with a pacing guide for that will be displayed on the website. And the committee is in favor of this as well, as the plan was set forth by Karen and Mike, but we're open to community feedback once given the opportunity for the community to use the tools. Then we looked at an ELL update was provided. We kind of looked at the overview of the program requirements and looked at the proposed schedule for the 22-23 school year. We looked at the instructional plan for Roberts, the UES, WAMS, and the high school as far as how the ELL programming would be provided. And then took a look at the Morristown student scheduling for the ESL courses at the high school. The ELL 3-year plan and monitoring recommendations were discussed, and we were also looking at how to best meet the needs of our current students. The summer curriculum writing summaries were provided and the writers were presented. Curriculum writers are on this June agenda for approval. And then we also reviewed the K-3 enrollment as it currently stands to look at what the needs were and where the class sizes and the population of the elementary school level. Then we had our June 9th meeting that in attendance, Mike Volpe, Karen Benton, Mr. Snyder, Sandra Alberti, Cheryl Makopoulos, and myself. Mike provided at that point an overview of the safety and security updates as it related to the recent WAMS event and explained that more details would follow and a more critical look would take place over the summer of how to improve the safety overall. We also reviewed the WAMS summer reading. Character education theme at WAMS for this coming school year was adversity. So the 3 selections of the books related to that theme. Books were chosen by a teacher committee and vary in Lexile level. Students can choose what book they want to read, but they'll kind of be guided by their teacher and also supported with that summer reading. And then we reviewed the UES summer reading, which is one book. Karen will look at expanding choices and options for students moving forward at the UES level, especially due to the varying reading levels at the UES. This summer's reading is Omar Rising. We had a general discussion then that followed with the summer reading selections about ways to re-examine ways that we improve the enrichment, the learning opportunities and expectations of summer work, as well as how we can engage help with the engagement strategies of students in the future during the summer months as well. And again, the K through 3 enrollment data was reviewed and that was shared in the minutes as well. So any questions? Okay.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Romano. Okay, might as well just keep coming down this way.
Sure.
Dr. Snyder for policy.
Yep, absolutely. So the policy committee met on June 9th. The first thing we continued our discussion of policy 143, which is dealing with the board member election and appointment. On the heels of the most recent appointment, I sought out all the board members who aren't on the committee to kind of get their thoughts. Again, we're trying to make sense of what the best course of action is in terms of transparency to future boards as well as the community in the context of what the actual application and then interview process looks like, where the interviews take place, where the deliberation takes place, and the voting obviously would take place in public. Things like, you know, would applicants' names be made public? At what point would they be made public? There's been a lot of, like I said, different ways this process has taken place in the past. So our intent is to make it clear for the public as well as, like I said, future boards that this is the standard and this is what people can expect. So I thought we had a pretty good, robust discussion on sort of like where we want generally to go. So we're going to, as a committee, draft something to bring to the full board in August for discussion and possibly first reading at that point. We also discussed the policy 5512, which is a harassment, intimidation, and bullying, which is a mandated policy. The administration sort of walked through how the meat of the policy doesn't change the procedures that currently exist. And it's likely our policies and procedures currently exceed mandated policy, and then this is still likely to be the case. So the administration is going to take the summer to review that. Again, also probably for first reading in August for any sort of changes to the policy, but it's likely to, in fact, it is very likely not to cause any real changes to how HIB is handled or reported in Morristown. And the last one we discussed is the 24-1601 postnatal accommodation for students. This deals with the district's compliance with resources and areas for postnatal needs. And it was brought to our attention that policies 2416 and then 3421 and 4421 dealing with support staff and teaching staff were also overlooked. So the intent is to pass them all at the same time, again in August for first reading, so that, and again, all these exist already, but it looked like this was a lapse in those policies having been passed. The policies on for first reading tonight, they are all mandated. There's a mandated policy and procedure dealing with maintenance and repair that deals with updated language, and the business administrator can speak to that, but it looked to be more than that. The policy 8420 emergency crisis situation, again, policy refers to how safety drills have to be maintained, the developmental appropriateness, what can and cannot be used in these safety drills, how often they have to be, kinds of things that is mandated. And in conjunction with that, policy and regulation 9320, which deals with the cooperation with law enforcement, is also mandated, but it does not, and again, deals with specific reporting and protocols, but likely wouldn't change much that currently exists. And the last policy that's on for first reading is 7510, the use of school facilities. In the review of policies 3233 and 4233 that deal with support staff and teaching staff, it came to our attention that language that deals, that says, however, the board prohibits the use of school grounds and school time for partisan political purposes was in those policies and referred to 7510, which is where that language should be dealing with school facilities. So again, in a measure to clean up what is a confusing thing, we're trying to have that language be in the correct policy. So now that same line, which already exists in those other two policies, will also exist in policy 7510, which is the use of school facilities. This doesn't change the meaning of partisan political purposes, as that is an inherently subjective idea. And the procedure for how the district will handle that is unchanged in the context of the responsibility with administration and superintendent. But that this is again, a hope and clarity and the intent to making that policy have the language it should have had to begin with. And the only policy on for second reading deals with student intervention and referral services, and the language is unchanged from first reading. And that's it. Any questions?
Comments or questions for Dr. Snyder about policy? Okay, hearing none. Thank you, Dr. Snyder. We'll move down the table. Dr. Alberti, you're on.
I will give a brief update about a brief meeting that we had on May 26th of the Communications Committee meeting. Present was Mick, Jill, Melissa, and myself, as well as Mr. Volpe. And we just really had 3 bullets. One is that we engage in a conversation about our communications plan update. The decision was made that we are going to delay focus group until next year, as we had some challenges in setting up those focus groups, and still feel very important to engage in faculty and staff input as well as community input, but just felt that we would better serve the purpose of those conversations if we delayed. And although we have collected survey data, we don't want the release of that survey data to interfere with the focus group conversations. And so all of that will be presented. We're working on it. We want to make sure that this continues to become a priority area, but we've just kind of shifted our timing on that a bit. We also spent some time as a committee debriefing the April town hall event, thinking about the challenges of that event, what opportunities there were, and really thinking about, as Mr. Volpe even said in his remarks this evening, how to make him more accessible and how best to fit that. And I know that he's thinking of some other ideas of additional structures, such as coffee with the superintendent. I don't want to speak for him or his time, but we talked about ways that serve the purpose of getting to know the superintendent better and making that a more accessible option for folks. And then lastly, we spent some time additionally talking about some news media coverage that we've received in the last month that we as a board and as a communications committee have felt that wasn't always accurate or fair, and how we can best engage in kind of proactive reaching out to members of the media so that we can make sure that we are all fairly and accurately represented. And that was the extent of our conversation.
Thank you, Dr. Alberti. Any questions or comments around communications? Okay, seeing and hearing none, move on to Mr. Villanueva. Thank you, Dr. Alberti. Mr. Villanueva, Finance and Operations, please.
Thank you. Finance and Operations met yesterday morning for about an hour and a half. The details are in the minutes, but I'll give the highlights. We talked about the transportation bid that's on the agenda for approval tonight. I mentioned it, I believe, in our last meeting as well, where given some discovered efficiencies with respect to condensing some routes, we have kept the cost within budget in these challenging times as it pertains to transportation. So thanks again to Mr. Heiser and our transportation supervisor for those efforts. We also talked about the janitorial bid that's on the agenda this evening. Some may recall that at our last meeting, we had approved a janitorial vendor that following that approval informed us that they no longer intended to become our vendor. So we had to have another meeting in between, another public board meeting in between our last meeting and this one, to reject all of the bids that we had received and reopen the bid process on a very short time frame. And we were fortunate enough to get new bidders, and the lowest bidder, ACB, I believe is the acronym of this company, is on the agenda this evening for approval. We discussed the potential implications on enrollment for the new housing that is going to be coming into Morristown, and in particular, the housing developments at the Morristown Mall, as well as across the street from the UES. Some of this is detailed in online. If you go to the town hall discussion there, Mr. Weeks and Mr. Volpe provided some written comments that pertain to the potential impact of these new homes on our enrollment. And I believe through discussions with the township, the current estimate is that potentially 320 additional students may come to the district as a result of these new homes. We had a robust discussion about the tax implications of this. Both projects, as we understand it, are under a pilot program, which is it provides for the developers to make payments in lieu of taxes rather than taxes on an annual basis. And this is not optimal for the district to the extent that payments in lieu of taxes don't include payments that flow to the district. So while our current property taxes, if you're a Morristown resident and take a look at your property tax bill, about 60 to 65% of that goes to the school district. Under this payment in lieu of taxes program, we believe there will be no payments that come to the district, notwithstanding the fact that additional students will be coming to the schools. So this is something that we need to manage and figure out how to deal with, because this will have potentially a significant impact on our budget, potentially as soon as next year. And so it is, at least in my view, a very serious concern for our budget that we need to address. Just by way of example, if we need to have 2 more bus routes, that's a healthy 6-figure add-on that we'll have to address. And that's not accounting for additional staff that might be required. Similar to discussions in other committees, we talked about security issues. I won't reiterate what's already been said, but I think the plan, Mr. Volpe, correct me if I'm wrong, is that there may be a more sort of comprehensive update publicly in the fall, in August, at our August board meeting. On the agenda tonight is also a resolution to approve a capital reserve transfer up to $500,000. This is a routine resolution we do every year, which gives Mr. Heiser the discretion to transfer $500,000 to our capital reserve account at the appropriate time if necessary. This, in my view, is a good thing. Our capital reserve has been traditionally very low. I think it was down to $2,000 when not when I came onto the board, but as a result of a project about a year into the board. And it's now up to about $725,000, which in my view should continue to grow to deal with rainy day events. We discussed the COVID grants that Mr. Volpe touched on a couple meetings ago that are now posted to the website. And we also talked about a potential grant opportunity that is issued through the Federal Environmental Protection Agency for fuel efficient buses. And we intend to apply for that, although I'm not certain how likely it is will be approved. Certainly worth taking a shot for. Finally, we talked about an emergent capital needs grant that I mentioned either last meeting or the meeting before, and we were evaluating, or administration was evaluating how to use funds received from that grant. And administration is going to do some window replacement at the UES with those funds, which the committee is in support of. And so that is it. If there are any comments or questions. Hearing none, thank you.
Nope. Okay, thank you, Mr. Villanueva. All right. Any off-board committees? We already heard about more arts. Anything else? Okay. Hearing none. Thank you, everybody, all the board, all the committee chairs for your reports. We can now move into our public comment portion of the evening. So this, as we traditionally do, the first public comment section is on items that are on the agenda. So please come to the mic, state your name and address, or as much of it as you're comfortable with sharing. You'll have up to 3 minutes to speak. Mr. Comegno, our counselor, will take care of keeping time. He will make you aware of when you have 10 minutes remaining. 10 seconds. You have 3 minutes to speak, 10 seconds remaining, excuse me. Please also be reminded that this is not, it's public comment. It's not a question and answer session. If you do want an answer to whatever it is your comment or question is, it's best to follow up with an email. And we ask that you please do not address board members individually. And please be respectful when making your public comments.
Good evening.
Yeah, hang on 1 second. Mr. Airy, would you mind positioning the mic? Mr. Comegno noted that the mic should be facing the board as public comment to the board. Thank you. Oh, we need a motion before we start. So, in a second. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay. All right.
Okay.
Please
All right.
proceed.
Is this okay? Good evening, members of the board. My name is Laura Dugan, and I'm speaking to you tonight as a concerned resident and community member who values our teachers and the energy that they pour into our students. I'm also married to a Morristown graduate who recently celebrated his 20-year high school reunion with close friends. It was evident at that reunion how successful and accomplished so many of his classmates are, and I know that can be attributed to the excellent education they receive from devoted teachers. But most importantly, I speak to you tonight as a mom of 2 young children who will be future Morristown students soon. And since we plan to never move from this amazing town, my children will spend 13 years each being welcomed into a classroom in September and being hugged goodbye by their teachers in June. Teachers who will directly impact and nurture my children. As I picked up my daughter Claire from daycare today, I passed under the banner reminding our town to gather and clap out our graduates. I absolutely love this tradition of celebration, pride, and support for our seniors. And behind so many of these graduates are, of course, opportunities, parents, involvement, friends, and internships. But do you know what else is behind these graduates? Teachers. Dedicated, intelligent, qualified, compassionate teachers. It's time to clap on our teachers and give them a fair contract. Actually, they deserve a standing ovation after the last few years they've had. Thank you.
Good evening, members. My name is Tara Lampman. I have a rising kindergartner that will attend Baker Elementary School this fall. I stand before you here tonight to share with you how your faculty and staff feel about teaching in this decade within 3 words. Working while sick, complicated, consuming, underappreciated, neglecting mental health, fear of uncertainty. Everyone is watching, nobody is helping. A balancing act, overwhelming, surreal, busy. Others before yourself, fatiguing, thankless, crucial, emails, 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 trying our best, no self-care, barely keeping afloat, figure it out, soul-sucking, unrewarding, beyond exhausting, unappreciated, undervalued, overwhelmed, no family time, challenging, exhausting, disheartening, overwhelming, challenging, exhausting, challenging, daunting, rewarding, obstacle after obstacle, hard, incredible, inspiring, draining emotionally and financially, crisis after crisis, precarious balancing act, challenging, exhausting, thankless, defeated and beat down, depleting and frustrating, exhausting as hell, challenging, unpredictable, rewarding, demanding, uncertain, necessary, never good enough, unlike any other, stressful, thankless, fulfilling, challenging, ever-changing, rigorous, unpredictable, stressful, and frustrating, underpaid, overworked, misunderstood, challenging, dreaming, overwhelming. The only other individuals that could possibly truly relate to these words are other teachers. I stand before you here tonight, not only as a stakeholder in this community, but also as a fellow educator. I teach in neighboring Haddonfield, a community that strives for the very same level of excellence that we do here in Morristown. Teaching and learning are not the same. And in post-pandemic, they will never be the same. 2 years ago, our teachers were indispensable. It's almost as if we have amnesia. Have you forgotten our value already? I plead with you to work with the MEA to reach an agreement on a contract that demonstrates that value. The lives of our teachers matter, and your actions will tell us how much they matter to you. Thank you.
My name is Nadine Mack. I have a 10-year-old. She'll graduate in 2030. I had a daughter graduate in 2020 and 2019. And what happened during the pandemic was this community in red shirts showed up big and supported our students. Meanwhile, they had somebody graduating in 2020. Everything was taken, and we have an opportunity to be generous and kind and support somebody who did what they had to do to create order out of chaos. And I'm so grateful for all you did and you're doing still. And I really believe we need to negotiate at that table and clearly talk to one another because they deserve to be paid. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sarah Mayer, and I'm here on behalf of the student body. First, I'd like to be incredibly clear that the effort to collect students to come to this meeting was an effort of students alone. Now, my family, along with I imagine the majority of Morristown, moved here for one reason: this school district. I have two older sisters who both went to Morristown, and before I entered my freshman year of high school, I was anxious. And so I asked them about the school. They never mentioned the 7 TVs out front or the newly waxed gym floor. They talked only of their teachers. The ones who made them laugh, the ones whose tests would definitely push me to my limit, and the ones whose classes were hard, but in the end, worth it. That is the lasting memory of this school district, its teachers. When it was time for me to apply to college, I was stressed to ask my teachers for letters of recommendation. But when I did, the response was, of course, no problem at all. And why are you even asking? I already planned on writing you one. I mean, personally, you couldn't pay me $1,000 to sit down and write a letter about someone. And they do this every year for student after student and don't get paid a thing. When I talked to some people who didn't believe teachers deserve any more than what they currently make, the sentiment was similar. All they do is teach from a lesson plan. These teachers, so many of you believe, have easy jobs, do not simply teach a grade and go home. If they taught a lesson plan and went home, we would not have a class of 2022 with 175 of us graduating with honors, and we would not have this many students going to Ivies, because let's be honest, we aren't all natural born geniuses. It was our teachers rooting for us during our best times, motivating us through our worst, being there for us during COVID when they themselves had families and their health to worry about. That is what pushed us through it all. We knew we had to make them, our parents, and above all, ourselves proud. I mean, if you need an example of how amazing they are at their jobs, I actually enjoyed calculus this year. And if any of you know me, you know how crazy it is for me to say that. We're teenagers. None of us go into high school super excited to learn about ATP integration or Jane Eyre, but then we go to our classes engaged and excited, and that's because of them. I graduate in 3 days, and like many of my peers, I echoed the same sentiment of, I can't wait to graduate. But now that it's closer, I can understand why people say graduating is sad. Not because I'm not excited for the next chapter of my life, but because I know I'm losing something invaluable. I'm losing a building full of teachers who come to their job every morning devoted to their students. I'm truly going to miss that because I know no one can match the energy they've put in for me over the past 4 years. Children yet, obviously, but if I do in the future, I want this school to pay its teachers enough so that every teacher now and in the future comes to their job not worried about if they'll have enough money for gas this month, but rather worried about the quality of education their students receive, devoted to being there for them, and passionate about making their years at Morristown as memorable as my teachers have done for me every step of the way. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Amanda McComas. I'm a resident at 10 East Harris Avenue, a former student to many of you, and now a mother of 2 current students, a 3rd grader at Roberts and a 5th grader at the UES, both of whom have grown exponentially directly as a result of the expert instruction they have received from their incredible teachers. I could go on and on about just how amazing our educators are, but as stated earlier, you already know that. So I'll keep my comments brief. You've shared how much you value our educators. It's time to show them. You've mentioned tonight how much you admire their expertise and dedication. It's time to show them. You mentioned this evening how much you respect them. It's time to show them. These educators are not asking for the world, although that is what we ask of them each and every day. All they're asking for is a fair contract. And since you brought up fairness and speaking as a taxpayer, it's time to do the right and fair thing by putting our money where our mouths are and settle their contract now. Thank you all, teachers, for your time, your dedication, your expertise, and so much more. And thank you, members of the Board of Education, for settling their contract now.
Good evening, members of the board, teachers, parents, students, and members of the community. My name is Angelina Carrione Sherwood, and my son is a student at Roberts. He went there for 2 years of preschool, and he's finishing kindergarten this week. For the last 3 years, I haven't been able to be as involved as I would have been in his school activities if we hadn't been in a pandemic. But during that time, my husband and I were still so happy to see how our son was learning and progressing, how the teachers were finding ways to stay connected with us, how the teachers were pivoting from in-person to online learning and then back to in-person learning. And most of all, we were happy to see how happy our son was going to Roberts School. But last week, I was able to go to an in-person event. I attended Field Day at Roberts. And as each class and each teacher passed through my station, I got to speak with them. I got to see how they interacted with each other. And what really struck me was how the teachers went above and beyond for their students. They showed compassion, caring. They were able to handle any discipline issues and did all of that while still having fun with their students. I went home that night and I really thought a lot about that. And I've never seen in any other profession or any other field the dedication and passion that I saw from teachers that day. No one asked me to come up here and speak tonight. No one asked me to address this audience, but I felt so moved to do that because of what I had seen at Field Day. And it dawned on me then that this is not just a job to teachers. This is their passion. And so when I drop my son off at school every morning, now that I've seen what I've seen, it's not just, as you had alluded to, Mr. Weeks, as you had said, actually, not only is he there getting a world-class education, as you said, now I know he's not there just getting a world-class education. He's protected, he's cared for, and he's loved. And if that's not a reason for the board to settle a fair contract with the teachers, then I don't know what is. Thank you.
Hi, I am Pamela Lowe at 200 Paul Drive in Morristown. I'm a parent of 2 Morristown students, Morgan at the UES. Oh, gosh. Every year, every parent-teacher conference, I'm crying. I'm the crying parent. Morgan at the UES with Mrs. Resnick and Mrs. Lantanese, and Ryan at Roberts with Mrs. Sicali and Mrs. Yarrow. We moved to Morristown 6 years ago, primarily for the Morristown schools. What we didn't realize at the time was that we moved to Morristown to have these teachers in our lives. There will never be enough time for me to recap all that you've done for my children and my family as a whole. Instead, I stand here publicly to express to you that from the bottom of my heart, you are seen, you are appreciated, you are celebrated, and you are loved. We see that you don't put your own children on the bus for their first day of school. We see you miss your child's midday school concert, and you aren't a room parent for school parties. There's no work from home flexibility where you can throw a load of laundry in or do some online bill pay between Zoom meetings. Instead, during the school day, you're the smiling face our children see when they arrive at school on the first day. You have tears of joy during their midday concert, and you smile from ear to ear when you see the creative Halloween costumes your students come up with. You celebrate our children's accomplishments when they finally grasp a lesson they struggled to understand. They draw their first self-portrait or score their first goal. You are showing up every day to build, create, and implement experiences that will impact the rest of our children's lives. To our board members, many of you are parents, educators, and professionals. As a public servant in an elected position, I'm grateful for your time and efforts you put into our children and putting them at the top of your agenda. Like these teachers, you understand firsthand what it means to commit to unpaid hours for extra work, the late night emails, the off hours conversations with parents, and the mental space you commit to ensuring you're doing what's right and best for our children. For that, I am grateful to you. With the understanding that budgets are not endless and compromises are necessary, I ask that in prioritizing our students, we prioritize those who have chosen a career to develop, love, and educate our children. Please prioritize our teachers and staff. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Brooke Blizzard, and just like a lot of other people here, I also moved to Morristown for the education. I've actually had a learning disability for like a long time, which a lot of the teachers probably know I'm like the worst student. But I would not be where I am today graduating in 3 days if it weren't for any of the teachers. Like I said, I'm not a great student. I'm not graduating with honors, but if it weren't for the teachers, because the administration told me I wasn't going to graduate and I should probably just go to a different school, or I should go to some other thing. I don't know, trade school. I wouldn't be here. And so it baffles me that Morristown is one of the most privileged and fortunate school districts in the area. And we're actually struggling to at least be open to the idea of raising the teachers' pay. Morristown schools are literally nothing without its teachers. The past 3 years, these teachers had to risk the lives of their families and themselves to come and teach your children. I know this is probably mentioned before, but inflation rates are still rising after hitting a 40-year high. And this means that whatever you were paying them before, you need to at least raise at least 8% per year, according to the World Economic Forum. And that's just another reason why you should raise their pay. It's not just because of inflation, it's because these teachers will put everything out there for your children. And it would be sad to see Morristown to turn into a place that cares more about greed than paying their teachers the minimum. And you talked about fairness, and I believe that if there's fairness, then they should be paid the same as administrators and superintendents, which they're making more than $150,000 a year, which is also baffling because that's not a lot of districts too. So, and as a senior, I don't know if I speak on behalf of all the senior class, but it's not that I don't want you guys at the graduation. I love all of you, but I'd rather have you guys getting equal pay than at the graduation. So I wouldn't put that on them. That's not the teacher's fault at all. That's because they're not getting paid enough. So thank you.
Good evening, wonderful teachers and respected board members. My name is Jane Rollinson Brandt. I live at 500 Chester Avenue and am a somewhat willing taxpayer to this community. I have two wonderful grandsons in the high school and in the middle school, and I have been dazzled with the education that they've gotten due to these teachers. I also have an exceptional daughter-in-law, not because she's my daughter-in-law, but because she is teaching speech and special ed. And I have seen her work more hours than I have ever seen anybody work. So all I'm here to say, my promise to you is, if you could settle soon, I'll end under 3 minutes. Okay? Thank you very much.
Hi, Elizabeth Pollard, 64 Brooks Road, but you probably know that by now. Okay, this is going to be hard. I look out here and I see so many teachers that mean so much to me. My son Matthew's graduating this year, and he had a bit of a rough beginning. And we've lived here for 10 years since they were in 1st and 3rd grade. Thank you so much to everyone. Mrs. Sempton-Pelter, you were his first teacher. At South Valley, at the UES, at WAMS, and at the high school. Our kids have the privilege of being educated, cared for, guided by compassionate, thoughtful, knowledgeable, and innovative teachers, nurses, front office staff, guidance counselors, speech therapists, principals, I already said that, I'm sorry, officers, coaches, case managers, cafeteria, janitorial staff. Hundreds of people, literally, have touched my kids' lives. You've helped them become amazing young men. There's no way to place a value on the gifts you've given them. Teachers do not go into teaching for financial reasons, but rather for their passion for educating our kids. Our teachers need and deserve salaries that allow them to buy pencils and paper and backpacks and food and other supplies their students don't always have. Salaries that compensate them for spending hours after the school day is over, grading tests, answering emails, making phone calls, and meeting with families. Salaries that compensate them for attending numerous non-contractual events, including graduation and project graduation, especially impactful for my family this year. Salaries that compensate them not only for maintaining but exceeding their teaching excellence during a global pandemic. Salaries that allow them to afford co-pays and medical care that health insurance does not fully cover. Salaries that allow them to buy groceries and gas. Salaries that allow them to enjoy their lives with their families. I don't know the details of your negotiations, how far apart you are. I hope you're close and that we'll err on the side of our teachers. Our teachers prove themselves as wholly committed to our kids every single day. Let's prove that we are wholly committed to them. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Mark DeShong, 605 Beacon Street, Morristown, where I live with my wife, Laura, and daughter, Eleanor. Laura attended the April board meeting and said that some comments were made by Mr. Eagles regarding the Medford School District. As someone who has been teaching in Medford for 28 years, I felt it was my duty to come here and defend my school district. You see, this has been a topic of discussion for many years in my household, as my wife is a teacher in Morristown. My district this past year, superintendent, school board worked diligently with my association to help settle our own contract. We got a raise, and we only needed 4 months of negotiation to get there. It was such a relief. And then my board, in partnership with a local company, sent ice cream trucks to all the schools and gave each teacher an ice cream cone. I got a decent contract and an ice cream cone too. Pretty cool, huh? The Morristown Education Association members have been working every bit as hard as my association members. No, they've actually been working harder because their workday is longer and they have more of them. And more after school meetings too. My wife did the math and calculated that she works over 38 hours more than I do. And that is before the after school meetings are added in. Morristown teachers have worked tirelessly during the pandemic. Our daughter graduated MHS last year, and we saw firsthand how hard all the teachers worked to ensure that the students were ready for college and post-high school graduate careers. She's going to a great college too, by the way, with a 3.89 GPA. She's sailing through her classes because she was so well prepared by this Morristown staff. But I digress. Morristown schools are ranked #1 in Burlington County and #10 in the state. When you agree that the teachers work diligently to make this achievement happen, why not honor that with a fair contract? Times are changing in the field of education, as you said, and it's getting harder to find exceptional teachers. It was very hard even before the pandemic, and it's getting worse with each coming year. We know of someone who was offered a job here in Morristown, but chose to go to another school district because the pay was better and the workday was shorter. She's even happier there and with the choices that she made. I wonder if anyone else here knows of someone who chose to teach in a neighboring school district instead for those same reasons. Is this a scenario that we will be happening with greater frequency in the future? I ask you, board, is this what you want to have happen? Offering a substandard contract to the MEA may seem penny wise, but it's pound foolish. Everyone has a consequence. Everything has a consequence just for now, but also for the future. Morristown is a great school district, one of the best in the state. Don't you want to keep it that way? I implore you to
10
move
seconds.
forward in negotiations with Morristown Education Association towards a fair contract. Thank you.
My name is Gary Morris, live in 7 Baldwin Hill Place. My wife's a Morristonian and also an alumni of Morristown High School. So I grew up in Radnor. I lost the battles, for those husbands. Some things you just give up, right? Anyway, I'm here. I want to thank the board and actually the teachers as well, because the last 2.5 years, we've seen all the craziness going on around the country with kids going back to school and basically rioting. And the board, teachers, you're all adults about getting our kids, making our kids priority, okay? So tonight, I want to expand this conversation beyond just the excellent teachers my kids benefit. I have 4 kids in the school district. Shortage of nursing staff. New Jersey has one of the most severe nursing shortages in the country. Nurses can shop for the most competitive and secure packages. Compensation for part-time nurses must be more competitive and fair. The proposed pay restructuring will decrease the current compensation package. Part-time nurses are not guaranteed job security year to year like traditional school nurses. Part-time nurses are not guaranteed the same full-time benefits such as pension amounts and traditional school nurses. We must maintain the same competitive compensation package that allows several grades of advancement, or we risk losing valuable part-time nurses that know the students and community. Limited hours of advancement opportunities and low pay will not make these part-time nurses slots competitive. Part-time nurses' absence put all students at risk. These positions are often difficult to staff. Last year, my daughter missed school because there was not a suitable candidate to cover long-term coverage gap and sick days. This is not within the spirit of letter of the law, ensuring my daughter's access to education in the least restrictive environment. Fairness, as we mentioned tonight, we keep hearing that word tonight, fairness. It doesn't impact my child. Yesterday, my daughter's part-time nurse was out. The contractor provider who was supposed to provide substitute nurses was unable to fill that slot, which is an ongoing issue. Therefore, the office had to close the SV nurse office to fill the part-time nurse slot. This is a serious concern for all parents because should another student have an emergency to food or accident at a playground, 911 or a nurse in another building would have to fulfill the slot. The part-time slot would not be allowed to respond because her responsibilities or his responsibilities would be that particular student. So fairness can't be the expense of our children. Safety, competitive pay for part-time nurses is a safety issue, not just a compensation issue. So we're all adults through COVID for the last 2.5 years. We can be adults to get the teachers what their salaries should be. It is the best school district here in New Jersey. In my opinion, I'm here now to drink the water in Morristown. So whatever you put in the water is very strong. So thank you for your time, the board members and teachers. I love you all and thank you for what you do.
A lot of tough acts to follow. Good evening. My name is Meredith Butts. I live at 208 Locust Street. I have 3 children in the district. My husband and I intentionally chose Morristown 9 years ago, no small part due to the excellence of the district. We recognize that to continue to expect excellence, we must also be willing to pay for it. So I am here in support of the professionals who staff our schools. They're in a contract negotiations and will tell you some of the reasons why. First, as Mr. Weeks spoke about, there is significant shortage of not just teachers, but all educational professionals, nurses, everyone else. Veterans are retiring, some are leaving early for better paying private jobs, and too few people are entering the profession. Our district needs to remain competitive in order to attract and retain from an increasingly small pool. We cannot demand excellence without there being a cost. Second, educational professionals must continually prove themselves month after month, year after year. They undergo multiple observations and assessments annually, manage high-stakes standardized tests, complete and submit regulatory documents like SGOs, write and revise curriculum to meet ever-changing demanding state and national standards, complete continual professional development, and more. All of this just to stay proficient in teaching their content subjects in multiple grade levels. But teachers and other workers are not just expected to teach. They coach, mentor, and provide enrichment to complement and round out academics. They complete yearly medical safety trainings like how to correctly identify types of seizures. They train to recognize signs of abuse, bullying, self-harm, including suicidal ideation. They help our children who have trouble making friends make friends. They learn different drills for various emergency scenarios and must be ready to address and manage any medical emergency that can occur at any time. They work to shift decades of teaching on a dime through and still going through a pandemic. They work to support the academic development of our children and to protect our children's whole selves, mentally, emotionally, and physically. They deflect against vitriolic mis- and disinformation campaigns and quite literally train and prepare to shield our children from bullets. I know what that's like. I work in a school. We have to shield children from bullets. We have to prepare that that could happen at any time. Our educational professionals deserve a quick and fair resolution to contract negotiations. They do so much in a single day, never mind everything they have gone through in the past 2+ years. Please do not make these negotiations one more thing that they have to battle. We cannot expect excellence without there being a cost. It behooves us to have a positive and productive relationship with our educators. They take care of our children. We should take care of them. Thank you.
I'm not interrupting bullets. It's a loser. It's a loser.
Hello, I'm Dave Conlian, 415 Dawson Street, Orange House. Thanks to our Board of Education for the opportunity to speak. Thanks for all that you do. I know it's a job that requires a lot of time, and I'm sure there are very few perks, if any. Thanks especially to all of the Morristown staff, school staff who are here tonight, and who have taught my boys at Baker School, UES, here at WAMS, and now at the high school as well. A lot of you are my neighbors too. There's a lot of Morristown staff who are also Morristown residents. So especially thanks for the last couple of years, all that added stress and all that added work. Board members and school staff, thank you for everything you've done in those last couple of years. Being a parent of 2 teenagers during the pandemic, that hasn't been a cakewalk either. So like others have mentioned, I'm a lifelong resident of Morristown. It's a recurring theme. I've chosen to raise our family here. I look at this table before me. I see at least 4 of you who went to high school with me. And you made the same decision here. And we all know why people want to be here in Morristown. It's all the options of nail salons and orthodontists and title agencies. pizza. It could be something else. Oh yeah, it's the schools, right? So Morristown Township Public Schools have long been held up as Burlington County's gold standard of education, one of the best in the state. I'm eternally grateful to the many teachers who had such a positive impact on me. So I'll shout out Frank Pocious, Algebra 1, Mike Sutcliffe, boys soccer coach, and the late great Barbara Marks, Spanish 3, 4, and 5. Top-notch academics, athletics, visual and performing arts are the hallmark here. I want to voice my support for the MEA and their desire for a new fair contract. I know everyone has their own opinions of what is fair. It's been a word that's been discussed a lot, rightfully so tonight. I also know the contract negotiations are private and everyone does want what's best for the students. I honestly believe that. Here's my 2 cents. I have never heard of a contract in which public school employees somehow ended up overcompensated for the essential work that they do. What would be fair, in my opinion, is considering that Morristown is the county's gold standard, would be a contract that is resolved quickly and at the very least is equal to the contracts that have recently been settled in other local districts, Medford, with or without the ice cream cone, Delran and others. And I encourage anybody else who's here tonight who agrees with everything you've heard in the public comment section to come up. If you don't have anything to add, you can come up and just say, yeah, I agree with what they said. So thank you for your time.
Good evening. My name is Colette Lamidi, and I have a rising UES fourth grader. I prefer not to give my address. I don't feel comfortable with that. What I wanted to say, honestly, has been well said. Meredith, I was crying wherever you are in the room. The compassion and the deep felt regard for our teachers and what they deserve. I couldn't say it better. You all have heard me speak many a times up here. What I do want to say, though, is what I heard said tonight from the board is that you actually supported your own reasons as to why actions speak louder than words, and reasons in which you need to support giving our teachers what is truly a fair contract, and that it would not be taking this long. As a licensed mental health clinician, I know what the impact is of burnout and low morale, and what that does to individuals. Our teachers are not Teflon. They are individuals, they are people, they are human. What happens when we linger and we hold out and we're talking fairness, and if you're in marriage, you know that it's never 50-50. What's the song? Like 20-30, 70-30, what's, hello, I do have an education. 70-30, okay? There has to be give, because the impact of what, when you don't feel valued, does to an individual has very lasting effects. Our teachers give a great deal of care. All of you know it because you've been through the schools, or you have children in the school. The gentleman before, he said it well, as far as what it means when we show that we actually value what our teachers provide to our students here, and that we are the stellar district that is the model in this part of the state. You said it yourselves in terms of what you see already happening around the country. Meredith and the young woman who spoke about the almost 9% inflation. Those things are not lies, they're facts. If we want to bring people here who are going to make a good impact, continue the legacy that Morristown has created, your actions must speak louder than your words, because your words have done nothing so far. Our teachers deserve better. Thank you.
My name is Charlene Polikowski. I am a class of 2004 alumni. My parents moved to Morristown for the education. They still live in Morristown for the education, for their grandchildren, for my nieces and nephews. I had 2 siblings along with me go through the township. Morristown education is a standard of excellence. They are above average, and they deserve to be paid above average for the teaching of the periods between bells, the standing in the hallways, the coaching, the coming to sporting events that they're not coaching just to support the kids. We all live in this town because it is Morristown, and it is a town of excellence. And we want to say that we live here because of it. So we need to pay our teachers and all the staff that this affects, the nurses, the groundskeepers, everybody deserves it. To be fair, because they are above average, so they should be paid for their excellent work.
Hi, my name is Christina Smith, and I'm a resident and graduate of the class of 2004, and I'm a parent. I have a 5th grader at the UES. I moved back to New Jersey, Morristown to be exact, because I wanted my daughter to get the education I got. I also have a 4-year-old who goes to Baker Pre-K. I want her to also receive that same education. I would not have gotten that education if it wasn't for some of my teachers that are actually sitting out here. They've helped me so much, and they've also helped my daughter. My daughter was failing during COVID. She's now an A student, all 4 marking periods this year because of these teachers. They deserve this pay. They need this raise. These students need these teachers just as much as I did. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name's Katie, and I live at 348 East 2nd Street. I'm a Morristown graduate of 2018, and I just recently graduated from college. I wanted to speak tonight in support of the teachers and support staff at Morristown because I'm so grateful for all that they've done for the current and former students. Over the past 4 years in college, there were so many instances where it became clear how valuable this education was, whether it was in extracurriculars, getting through my most challenging classes, learning in a pandemic, and even the job application and interview process. As I look around the auditorium, I see faces from my 13 years in the district, people who taught me, coached me, advised my clubs, assisted me in the college process. This group supported me in many ways over the years, and I feel lucky to have had such an incredible experience. I would like to thank them for providing students like me with the foundation we needed to do well in the real world. Board of Ed, I respectfully ask you to give this group of people, I respectfully ask you to consider how many lives have been improved by the people in this room. I think it's really apparent in all the people who spoke tonight, this impact that the group of people in this room have had. I ask you to give the people in this room a contract that they deserve so that others may have the same experience that I had in this district. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Sarah Culp. I have 3 daughters in this school district. I want to thank you for letting me speak. I want to speak about two points. First, I haven't spent my whole life in Morristown. We moved here about 7 years ago. Before that, we were in San Diego in a very wealthy community that did not invest in their education. And I can tell you that my daughters came here unprepared for the level of education that was provided at Morristown. And thankfully to the teachers, they brought the girls up and they've done very well. But I have experienced what it's like when a community abandons their educators, and it doesn't matter how much money there is in the community, the students will suffer. And so I have that experience. The other thing I want to say is that my daughter had medical issues recently, and I've had to ask a lot of the teachers in this district, a lot above and beyond what they've asked to do under their contract, and they've always said yes, and they've always supported us, and I've never even had to question it. So thank you for that, and thank you.
Hi, board members. Hi, teachers. So funny being on this side. Hi, everybody. My name is Anne Marie Leota, 24 Valley View Terrace. I'm extremely nervous coming up here just because I speak for a living, but when it comes to something so personal, it's so hard, you know? I know this is a negotiation and I don't know who's on the committee, but I ask for the people who are not on the committee, who are board members, to speak up, speak loud. We voted for you and we voted for you to be our voice. You need to look at the entire picture and what these teachers have gone through the past 2 years, but I can speak personally over my own kids. I have 2 boys, and these teachers have gone above and beyond for them. If it wasn't for these teachers, I don't think Sean would have ever experienced kindness. And if it wasn't for them, I don't think he'd be here. So, and I'm not easy. I'm not an easy parent. They already don't make enough money and they had to deal with me, and they always took my calls. All of my calls, Dr. Tate and everybody else out here. But I'm a fierce advocate for children with special needs. Superintendent, you haven't met me yet, but my son already graduated. I still have a junior, and he would have never accomplished all that he has in his years as a junior without the teachers. From Mrs. Potts in first grade to Mrs. Pepperone in AP Art, every single teacher has shown Ryan unconditional support and advocacy. So these teachers have recently circled around Ryan during this crazy time that we're going through, and they take the extra time and never bat an eye. So as you're negotiating, I want you to think of the whole picture, not just you and the kids you have, but all of these people who are speaking up and the kids they have. And why? I mean, to have me speak up, I, again, hate going in public unless it's about life insurance. So really meet them in the middle and more so, please. I beg of you to put the kids' priorities first and therefore have the teachers be priority. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Caitlin. I'm graduating in 3 days. I'm a bit nervous because my debate teacher is in this room. Hi, Mr. Mooney. But I just wanted to come up and address the fact that you guys said that the teachers should do what is fair for the students. I think that they are doing what is fair for the students of the future in Morristown High School. And they need teachers who are being paid enough to do what they do every day, what they've done for me over the past 4 years. And let alone the teachers I've annoyed the crap out of every day. They should get paid more simply off of that, especially Miss Murphy, because I complained about being taught in June. But there are so many people in this room that have done so much for me, and they're the only reason that I know what I want to do with my life, how I want to help people, the people who have advised the clubs I've ran and everything like that. I wouldn't be the person I am today without them. So I'm begging you, please please pay them enough. They deserve it more than anyone that I could think of. Thank you.
Hello, good evening. I'm Rishabh Kotru. I am also a senior graduating in 3 years. I didn't plan on speaking tonight, but 3 days, hopefully 3 days. As I said, I didn't plan on speaking tonight, but I told Senora Trapani that if I was inspired standing here, that I would get up and speak. And after listening to fellow students as well as community members, I felt that it was my duty to not only commemorate the teachers that have worked tirelessly to teach me over the past 4 years, but also sort of thank them for dealing with me for the past 4 years. As many of the board members mentioned, our grade is graduating with 175 students having achieved honors, which means that they performed really well over the past 4 years. And while it's easy to talk about these stats, it's also very easy to look over why we are able to boast about these stats, which is because the teachers have worked so tirelessly over the past 4 years. I myself know personally, because I lived in a different school district before I moved here from Nevada, and I still talk to some of my friends there, and it's very easy to understand how incredible the quality of education in Morristown is when you've lived somewhere else. I talk to my friends from Nevada, and I see the places, the colleges they're attending, and the things that their schools have achieved, and it's easy to see that there is a clear difference, and we have the teachers to thank for that. At Morristown, we're able to brag about having students win the International Science Fair, going to top school music schools in the country, winning debate championships, sports state championships, and many other accolades along the way. And while I know it's easy to say that we should increase the pay of the teachers without addressing all the other things that go into it. But what I can say is that when it comes to negotiating, I hope that the board considers why we're able to boast about all these accolades when it comes to coming down to a compromise over the teachers' pay. Thank you.
Hello and good evening. My name is Maya Butani and I'm the class of 2022 valedictorian, but I absolutely would not be here and be able to say that without the teachers I've had over the last 12 years. I was moved to speak today because looking into the crowd, I saw teachers that have taught me science, math, English, and history, but beyond that, these are the teachers that have taught me confidence, self-acceptance, and work ethic. They have molded me into the person that I am today in my accomplishments in school and outside of school. These are the teachers who have motivated me in my worst times, picked me up when I've cried too many times to count, and have congratulated me in my best moments. I'm so thankful for everything that they have done in not only fostering our academic excellence, but also our personal excellence. In Morristown, we talk a lot about the academic excellence and rigor of our school, and that's absolutely important, but it shouldn't be overlooked how much these teachers do for us as people as well. They have grown us into the people we are today, and I'm so thankful for everything that they do. Please pay our teachers what they deserve. Thank you.
Hello and good evening. My name is Jaslyn Colsey. I'm a senior at Morristown High School, and tonight I only have 6 words that I want to say. Pay our teachers what they deserve.
Good evening. My name is Jola De Silva, and I'm also a senior at Morristown High School. Pay our teachers what they deserve.
Good evening. I'm Sarah Mayer. I'm a senior.
Excuse
Pay our
me,
teachers what they deserve.
Miss Mayor. Oh, I was just going to say, usually we let everybody go before somebody goes again, but okay, but you're done. So, for next time.
Good evening. My name is Avani Giri. I'm also a senior. Pay our teachers what they deserve.
Good evening. I'm Sydney Careyhard. I am also a senior at Morristown High School. Pay our teachers what they deserve.
Hi, everybody. So I couldn't condense what I felt in 6 words, so I'll read my paragraph. So my name is Hijab Zaidi. I graduate in 3 days as well. And as a student here who moved from New York in freshman year, I immediately saw how much effort, love, and care our teachers put into teaching us and helping us with our well-being. Not only did they teach the curriculum so well that I actually started enjoying school, they went out of their way to help students who struggled through the pandemic mentally as I did. Mrs. Long, who made me enjoy math when I really did not like it. Mrs. Lucas, who made me love Spanish. Mr. Engel, who showed me constant support when I clearly disliked physics. Mr. Fauvel, right there, who listened to my endless rants and always gave me the best life advice, which I'll carry for the rest of my life. And Mrs. Poole, who always reassured me that everything will be okay in life. And finally, Mrs. Rubin, who was the sun in my day and always made me smile early in the morning when I was very tired. Mrs. D'Ambro, who bent over backwards to help every single student in the guidance department and help us along the way in our college recruitment way. But they also went out their way to help me when they were never obligated to, which is very important. When they had families to take care of, papers to grade, and other responsibilities. Our Morristown teachers go out of their way to help students. And after tonight, I hope we take into consideration the root of the issue and be transparent with facts, data, and numbers to parents and teachers to find a solution for our teachers. Instead of shaming students on Morristown parents that are trying to help our teachers, we should stand with them and support them and get them what they deserve. Thank you.
I'll squat. Good evening. My name is Grayson Bunting, and I'm a senior at Morristown High School, graduating in just 3 days. I just wrote this speech in line because I was inspired by my peers, and I felt that this is the least I can do for their work over the last decade of my life. I am not exactly a naturally gifted student. However, my success and acceptance into my university is entirely credited to the wonderful teachers in this room who have gone above and beyond in ensuring their students' success. My family moved to this district due to the incredible legacy that this school district has imprinted on this town. Through a global pandemic, these teachers have stepped up and given me an education which will set me up for success. I cannot think of a better use of the budget than on the raise they undeniably need. To all the teachers in this room, I thank you for pushing me to become the man I am today. I will never be able to put into the words how much you all mean to me. For that reason, I will say one last sentiment. Pay our teachers what they deserve.
While the Morristown Education Association may not have policy-making power, they do have one thing: numbers. There are over 500 members of the MEA, people who are advocating for what they deserve. If this operated as a fair and just system, teachers with these numbers would have a raise in a matter of months, as the teacher from Medford stated. If other districts can achieve these raises in the turmoil of current inflation, then Morristown can do it as well. Tonight, you are giving educators the power of words, as many people have gone up here and spoken. But will that stand against your power of the pen? How many more protests will it take until the Board of Ed realizes that there's a reason why practically every teacher at MHS is in the union, and that they will work endlessly to receive the fair contract that they deserve? If the union was given the power that it should have, action would have been taken. And in the plethora of expenses maintaining our education system, teachers' salaries would be a #1 priority. And with that, the livelihood of those who serve as the backbone of our education. And no fair process could a union with such power, such strength, resilience, and support from the people receive such little in return. As I said, the union should be a force to be reckoned with, and they deserve a seat at the table. Pay our teachers what they deserve.
So we met, Miss, we appreciate your comment, but we'd like to know who you are.
Oh, my name is Layla Rahman. I'm a senior
Yes.
at MHS.
I know, I just wanted to make sure they knew.
Feel like I'm like breaking up something here because I'm Karen Vidal and I am not a senior at Morristown High School. Although I'm shorter than I think all of them. All right, so I am here tonight. I am actually, since this is still the first reading, and I was going to actually address some policy and procedures. Specifically, I'm happy to see that Mr. Volpe is addressing student safety. I'd like to talk briefly. I think that Morristown has made great strides since I wore this shirt 3 years ago. And unfortunately, we've fallen flat since I wore this shirt 3 years ago and spoke in May of, before the pandemic. Does that not seem like so long ago? So again, I'm happy to see we're addressing some things, but some things that parents are still confused about. People are still not clear with our language. And I'm happy that it's no longer the sun will always shine over South Valley, but it will be lockdown, shelter in place. We need the clear language. As far as the drills, I hope we never again, ever again, do a realistic drill of chasing Dr. Tate through the hallway, because I now have the data that shows how harmful that is for our students. So while the state mandates that we have to have drills, it doesn't mandate that we have to have realistic drills in which people are chased and banging through the hallways. I'm happy to see a lot that's in terms of like response, but what are we doing in terms of prevention? So I spoke about a Sandy Hook free promise that would start with hello. I'm fine that you guys didn't adopt it, because I actually think one of the best things about Morristown is that you pick and choose some of the best programs out there. I still believe in Sandy Hook Promise, Know the Signs. And I think we've seen how evident it is that we had some wonderful students who knew the signs and reported it. I think where we fall short is what happened after that. I don't think the messaging was very clear from administration. And I think I know as a healthcare professional in a school district, I know that you're doing the things to keep that student safe. Because not only do I not want to hurt others, I don't want them to hurt themselves. Make that clear to parents. You can do this while protecting patient privacy, student privacy, that you can keep in mind. The other thing is, we just need to know the student isn't coming the next day. After that one day, a flat policy. After that, absolutely. Patient or student safety and student, I'm trying to say, no, not knowing who the student is comes first. Of course, I understand that. And there are student specific situations. I want to make sure that the police are called for every incident because they're not called for every incident around the country. And parents would be shocked to know how many times that people are stopped for those reasons. So please just communicate that a little better with the language. I still, like I said, I'd like to say with Sandy Hook Promise with Know the Signs. I would love to see us implement Stop It solutions and Help Me. There can be funding for this. I might have a resource to get us in touch with our VP. I'd be happy with work with Mr. Volpe on this one. Was that my 20 seconds? All right, my last 20 seconds, I promise will be quick. No other profession in the world is asked to not save themselves, but save students first. And I can tell you that my South Valley teachers taught me what soft targets are, and they taught me how to lock my doors. And they said, don't try and reach that thing up top because you're never going to reach it. And so instead, what are you doing to barricade and what are you doing to get them? And I can tell you right now, I have had a fire, a real fire in my school I've had to evacuate, and I've had to figure other things out. But let me tell you that no one else does anything like they do in terms of safety. So please support our teachers.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Leslie Ackerman. I'm 917 Knoll Court. I was not going to speak tonight, but then the gentleman said that if you're a parent and you care about our educators and appreciate them, that you should come up and just say, I agree. So I agree. What I also wanted to say is the past few years, I've listened in on Zoom board meetings, and the board and our community and all of our teachers have faced so many challenges, to put it lightly. And a lot of the times there were things that were completely out of our control. And I feel like reaching a fair contract with our teachers is like the one thing we can control. So that's what I'm asking today. So can we please maybe start next year? It will be my daughter's first time in 3 years starting a normal school year, if we can reach a contract and give the teachers what they deserve.
Hi, can you guys hear me? You can. I wrote nothing. But I wanted to start by talking about our paras.
Please start with your name.
Oh, I'll start there first.
Thanks, Ms.
My
Smith.
name is Kimmy Smith. And most of you already know where I live, so there you go. But I would like to start talking about our paras. I've heard a lot of people talk about, test scores and achieving excellence and all those wonderful things. But some of us have kids that won't necessarily achieve all of the things that you guys are talking about. My Sammy is nonverbal. He will never go to college. He's never going to do a lot of the things that you guys talked about. But his parents teach him how to wipe the table. My son may be one of those people that you see at Wegmans, packing bags or wiping the tables in a cafe. And the parents truly care about my kid. When my son had a seizure, his parent was crying because she cares about my kid. The teacher, when he elopes 1,000 times a month, they run after him because they care about my kid. They go above and beyond. Our teachers, our parents, they truly understand their assignment. As an advocate, I'm an educational advocate. I do that for a living. I've been to tons of schools in Burlington County, and not all teachers are created equal. Not all parents are created equal. Some of them do not know the assignment. They didn't get it. Okay, our teachers and our parents do know that. And I respect you guys. I respect what you do. And I hope that you get what you deserve. I really do. I don't feel like I can say much more than was already said, but that's really it.
I'm Raghav Akula. I'm a junior in high school, and I have a vested interest in how these negotiations work out because I would like an education next year. So I've done debate for 3 years, nurtured by my debate advisors at school. So I'm quite an experienced debater, and yet I've been shaking for about the past half an hour. I'm still shaking. And that only really happens, these kind of stage fright reactions only really come back when I know what I'm talking about is important, not just to me, but to other people, when it's very personal, when I know it has higher stakes, when I know it means more than the words that are coming out of my mouth, whatever they may be in the next 90 seconds or so. I don't think the board is taking into full account what they're paying our teachers for. They're not just paying them for mundane instructions. They're not paying them to stand in the front of the class and lecture for 40 minutes, because if that was the case, no high schooler would be sleep deprived. We would be sleeping in class anyway. You pay our teachers to do more than teaching. You pay our teachers to help us learn. You pay our teachers to be engaging. You pay our teachers to be creative. You pay our teachers to support us through thick and thin. You pay our teachers to relate to us as human beings. You pay our teachers to practically be our substitute parents outside of school. All of these jobs are not taken into account in the teacher's salary or the teacher's contracts. You pay teachers to have an infinite level of patience dealing with all our questions. I would know. I ask my math teacher sitting right behind me too many questions every day, and he sits there, answers them all the time. Shout out to Mr. Sinatra. If I were a teacher, I would have ran out with patience with me a while ago and told me to check Google instead. The contract doesn't take into account the enormous patience that our teachers take in giving us the education that we deserve at Morristown High School. And I think the contract should be one that reflects us. The contract doesn't reflect the fact that the teachers need to relate to us as people just like them who need the same emotional support as any other teenagers do. So I've been hearing a lot tonight about how everyone wants to do what's best for the students. So I'm here to tell the board definitively, what's best for the students is what's best for the teachers. Let our needs align with theirs. And as my senior classmates put so eloquently, pay our teachers what they deserve. Thank you.
Hi, Gwen Gettle, 724 Mill Street. I had no intention of speaking here tonight. I'm not a public speaker. I am a parent, however, of 4 children, 3 graduates of Morristown High School, 1 current freshman. To say that these educators are not absolutely outstanding is an understatement. My children are who they are today, in large part because of these people. I have 3 very successful, 2 in college, 1 graduate, and this school provided them with opportunities they never would have ever received. So my only question to you all is, why can't we meet their expectations when they have exceeded mine and my children's expectations every day for 18 years? Thank you.
Go, Gwen. She hates to talk in public. Heather McCurney, 28 Woodland Drive. Friend of mine out here somewhere, I don't know where you are, teacher friend, texts me, oh my gosh, Heather, are you going to talk? I said, no, I am not here to talk. I'm just here to support. But looking at my Roberts family, and you are still my family, I couldn't help but have to stand up and say something for all of the teachers out here. My kids have been in the school district for 13 years. I have 4 children, junior, sophomore, freshman, and 6th grader. These teachers have gone above and beyond. Those who know me know my children, know the many struggles that we have gone through over the years. And besides educating them and making them so ready for the future, they have supported them and their health, supported their mental health, have gone well above and beyond, starting with Mrs. Sicali in kindergarten and all the way up, allowing me to text them, to talk to them on their private time. Miss Bell, I'll email her at 9:30 at night when I can get my thoughts just right and put it down in an email. And 10 minutes later, she's responding to me and always there to support. I can't say enough about these teachers in this room, not only the people that have taught my children, but every single person in that building, because every teacher in the building touches my children and has an impact not only on them, but on my entire family. And so my children have a beautiful life today, and they have a bright, bright future. And it's because of every single person in this room. So I thank you, and please come to an agreement and give these teachers what they deserve, which is the moon.
Hello there. My name's Elizabeth Andres, 130 Bridgeboro Road, and my children are grown. I have a daughter who just graduated from college. My son's been graduated from college. Both attended schools here in Morristown. But I'm here, and I say ditto to all the great things that everyone's come up here to say so far. I would add to the something power everything that they've said. But I think I have something to offer today that not anybody has said so far. So I thought it would be really important for me to say this. And I'm an educator myself. I've taught for many years in another district in Camden County. And I have experienced what these teachers are experiencing right now in that I've come to work and not had a contract. I've had my pay frozen, and I've had my take-home pay decrease because of action by the school board in not settling a contract. And so I have seen what that did to that community. And I come to you here today saying, I do not want this community to be torn apart the way some other communities have in South Jersey over what's going on here. And I can tell you that it's just not who we are here in Morristown. We are all Morristonians. Many of you have graduated from Morristown schools. I'm not originally from Morristown, but I've lived here for 28 years now. This is my home. And this is not who we are. And I just cannot fathom you not doing for these teachers what pay the teachers what they deserve, please. Thank you.
Lisa Trapani. So inevitably, as I teach my Spanish students, half of the battle is in the anticipation of what someone is going to say or what the response is. Correct, Worship? Oh my, right? So if you're really listening, then you should be thinking about, well, what's the response going to be here? So my anticipation is that, well, we would pay our teachers $1 million a year if we could. I've heard that throughout my career. Well, of course we would if we could. So I'm going to talk about some numbers here. So sustainability. So I have the tax levy here provided to me by Mr. Heiser from 2008-9 school year. So if you average out over those 14 years, the average tax increase to the Morristonian is 1.79, well under 2%. Now, let's just take a look at the last 5 years. So when the district said that they budgeted to 2%, that's fine. But then when you look at the actual audited amount, what was actually spent that year, you will see that in the 2016-17 year, $59,000 was not spent. The next year, $63,000. The next year, $139,000. The next year, $372,000. The next year, $214,000. So that's a grand total of $650,000. Now, did the district spend that money on something else? Yes. But to say that there's not money for the priorities, and the priorities are these students and those of us who are sitting in front of you, that's simply not true. So that is money that the district chose to spend on other things. That's your own tax levy right here. The second thing, rainy day. So rainy day, when it comes to another anticipation that might come up, well, what about when we have to place a student out of district? What about when we have costs due to special education, whatever it might be? In 2019-20, the district received $1.4 million from the state in extraordinary aid. In 2020-21, $1.9 million. We don't know that number yet for this year, but it's anticipated to be at least equal to or better than that. 3, rainy day, insurance fund. So let's just say we have a year, which we have not, because over the past 5 years, the insurance has gone up on an average 2.5, not like in the 90s when you could have a year when it went up 13%. We haven't had that. We joined the South Jersey Insurance Fund. So the amount that they have from our dividends is $1.5 million. That is what this fund is holding in their funds of our money from what they have saved from us. So I want to address this issue of sustainability and the money that's available. So I
So-
just told you all those facts. I know my
Thank-
3 minutes are up.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Penny.
Nobody else is there.
All right. Looks like I will entertain a motion to close the first public comment session. Okay. Got a second? Oh. Just under the wire.
This will be quick, sorry. Hi, everyone. My name is Abby Brooks. I graduated from class of 2015 from Morristown High School. And I'm a little nervous right now because I'm seeing all my old teachers from the past years. I kind of feel like I'm interviewing for Jake from State Farm with all the red shirts right now, which wouldn't be a bad idea because Jake from State Farm makes commission, bonus, salary, gets rewarded. Anyway, I just wanted to come up here quickly because I wanted to point out something that was sitting with me while I was listening to the board and the superintendent. Specifically, Mr. Superintendent, you, and I quote, said you want to gain the MEA members' trust. Trust is something that is earned and not given. I think that we all know that. And I hope that the faculty here will gain that trust and the respect that I was given as a student. And with that, I know I'm not allowed to ask any questions, but a rhetorical question: why are you all trying to fix something that is not broken? Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Are there any others? Okay. So all in favor of closing public comment? Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? So thanks to everyone for those comments. As I said at the outset, we definitely appreciate hearing from everybody. Okay, so now we'll move on to reports to the board. So under letter A, we have 5 items. So the financial reports of the board secretary, treasurer's report, cafeteria report, approval of budget transfer, and approval of bills. So I'll entertain a motion for approval of items 1 through 5. Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Motion carries. Moving on to recommendations of the superintendent. Under letter A, we've got policies and procedures that were spoken about before by Dr. Snyder for first reading and second reading. So we have a motion for the approval of items 1 and 2. Second. Thank you. All in, I'm sorry, any comments or questions? Okay. All in favor? I guess I got to wrap it up. All right, under letter B, number 1, home instruction for 21 and 22. These are all educational program items. Number 2, special education out of district placements, 21, 22. Special education out of district placements for 22, 23. Burlington County alternative school placement for 22, 23. Special education in district placements for 22, 23. Consulting service agreement, special education services contract, and special, there are actually 2 motions for that. So I'll entertain a motion for approval of items 1 through 8, please. Thank you. Got a second. Any comments or questions? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions?
I will abstain from number 3.
Good, Mr. Heiser? Yes. Okay, moving on. Letter C, finance and business, expenditures for travel approval requests. And let's see. Am I missing something? It says 1 and 2. Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry, wrong page. Number 2, donations. 3, annual meeting notice. 4, non-tuition student, non-resident tuition students. 5, summer enrichment and extended daycare tuition rates for 22-23. Bus emergency evacuation drills. Number 6. 7, interlocal services agreement for IT services. 8, Burlington County Educational Services Unit resolution. 9, the Burlington County Educational Services Unit non-public contracted services for 22-23. Number 10, athletic organization membership for 22-23. 11, comprehensive equity plan 22-23 statement of assurance. And let's see, 12, student transportation bid. 13, this is the long one, chapter 47 annual notification. 14, participation, the resolution for participate in the joint services agreement. Number 15, teacher evaluation system annual adoption. 16, the principal evaluation system annual adoption. 17, the transfer to capital reserve, the not to exceed amount of $500,000. Number 18, approval of a codicil to the MEA Board of Education agreement. Number 19, the bid award for janitorial services. And while it's not printed in the distributed version of the agenda, we amended this in executive. ACB Services Incorporated is filling in the blanks there. We opened 4 bids on June 10th. ACB Services Incorporated was the successful bidder. For a total amount of $3,261,612. They were the low bid, as noted in section 1, and in section 2, we're authorizing the school business administrator to execute a contract with ACB Services. So that will take effect immediately on June 14th, 2022. So that's all number 19 there for that bid. That was amended in executive again. Number 20, FY22 Emergent and Capital Maintenance Needs Grant 21 settlement agreement. So for all of those items, numbers 1 through 21, may we have a motion to approve those items? Thank you. Thank you. Any comments, questions? All right. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay. All right, that one carries. So letter D, employee relations. So we have appointments, and some of these are as amended in executive session. So appointments, number 2, retirement. Number 3, resignations. Number 4, leaves of absence. Number 5, substitutes. 6, change in hours and adjustment to salary. 22-23 reappointments for the Morristown Administrators Association. Thank you. Number 8, 22-23 reappointments for non-affiliated staff. Ooh, there's a long list here. Number 9, I won't read the numbers anymore, just go through these. 22-23 reappointments for secretaries, paraprofessionals, buildings and grounds, bus drivers, EDC staff, educational services, job coaches, Delanco shared services incentive, the employees with Black Seal stipends, athletics, co-curriculars, clubs, those stipends, volunteers, homebound instructors, presenters, curriculum writing staff, extended school year staff, supplemental reading and math, ESSER summer teaching staff, summer enrichment staff, summer transportation staff, summer evaluation staff for CST, summer staff hours, summer painters, special projects assistant manager job description, and the nighttime head custodian job description. So those 32 items, yes, that we had the marathon discussion in executive about and amended several of them, or a few of them. I'll entertain a motion for approval of those items, 1 through 32. Okay. Did we get a second? Okay. Any questions, comments? Did I miss any? Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. All in favor? Oh, sorry, roll call vote. Roll call.
Dr. Alberti,
Yes.
Mrs. Arcaro Burns, Mrs. Fowles Macaluso,
Yes.
Mrs. McCopolis, Mrs. Morano,
Yes.
Ms. Romano, Mr. Villanueva, Dr. Snyder,
Yes.
Mr. Weeks.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Okay, so moving on, letter 10, suspensions. We have 2 items under that. Recommend the board approve the following HIB cases as noted in the agenda. Can I entertain a motion for approval of those items? Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? What's 1 abstention? Okay. It's noted. Again, all right. 11, informational only. We have the enrollment information. So we are quickly back to, I'm sorry, question. Any old business? Okay. Any new business for the discussion? Okay, moving past that, now we're back to our second public comment session. This public comment section is available for items that are not necessarily on the agenda. So the same rules apply though. 3 minutes, we'll give you a 10-second notification. Please state your name, address as you approach the mic. You can address the board. See, somehow the mic has gotten turned to address the audience. It should be the other way. Please do not direct any comments specifically to a board member. Thank you, Mr. Ari. Excellent job. Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to open the general public comment. Thank you. The people in my eye line. All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay, please approach the microphone.
Lamidi again. I just wanted to make the comment. Actually, hopefully I can directly respond to Mr. Volpe. He's not a member of the board, but I wanted to say thank you for your words and your remarks earlier in the opening, where you spoke about prioritizing inclusivity and helping to have students who don't necessarily feel seen, working on that. And I really appreciate that. And I'm looking forward to what that means for our district. And my hope is that this board and whomever is on the board in the coming year will stand behind you and support you in those efforts. So thank you.
I'm going to cry. Bridget B. Potts. I live at Robert School. Before that, I lived at 123 South Garth Field, and before that, I lived at 608 Grand Avenue. I don't live in Morristown anymore, but I will always be a Morristonian. For 21 years, I have come to this microphone filled with hope each time, somehow thinking that whether it was about class size or pre-first or our settlement, because unfortunately every 3 years we seem to be in the same spot again, always thinking maybe if I say that one thing, maybe that'll be enough for the Board of Education to look at things differently. So I took all these notes and I was super excited, and I had all these sleepless nights, and I'd go into school and I'd share them with my colleagues. And every time I got the same response, they're not going to care. So that night I'd go home and I'd think, all right, instead of sharing the stories of what the paraprofessionals have done or the secretaries have done, what if I share about my personal story? What if I share what COVID looked like for me personally versus what it looked like for me as a professional? So I go in and I share that. And guess what they told me again? They're not going to care. So I went back again that night, and instead of giving up, I said, you know what? I got it. I'm going to talk to them about what this settlement means for my colleagues. It's great to hear we deserve it. I know we've earned it, but we need it This is our livelihood. I may not have children. I have 19 in my classroom this year that are my kids, but my colleagues do. So humor me. I'm going to make this about them because let's remember, they have families. So I'm going to share some stories. I'll be brief, I promise. Mr. Camagno, I already see you with your timer. And just here, because this is personal. This is personal. We need this. We have bills to pay. We have family members to take care of. You know what our salary guides look like. And I know it's going to look like I'm trying to have a pity party. I promise I'm not. I'm looking out at these dedicated colleagues, and this is for them. And I hope it might resonate with some of you. So here I go. Tonight, this is about my colleagues whose partner lost their job or took a pay cut. It's about my colleagues who are single parents and who have a child that needs extra help, whether academically or emotionally, but there's an out-of-pocket cost. This is for my veteran staff colleagues who have their adult children that still need their help financially. This is for my colleagues who lost their partner and are now supporting their family on a single income. This is for my colleagues who carry around a picture of their salary guide. This is true. I didn't make any of this up. And they count how many more steps until they'll be financially stable. This is for my colleagues who put gas and food on a credit card every month because they can't afford it, but still bought your children end of the year gifts and bubbles and scratch and sniff stickers and snacks when they don't have food. This is personal. This is our
Ms.
livelihood.
Potts, could you start your, is anybody else coming up to speak? Okay, because your 3 minutes are up. So please, if you'd like, you can start another.
Sorry. Okay, well, thanks,
to
Mike. I
finish.
appreciate that. So bottom line, it's
You gotta
already
hold to the rules.
Yeah, now I get it. Okay, this is personal. This is our livelihood. My colleagues and I need this money to provide for our loved ones. This settlement is not just what we deserve. It's a necessity for us. This is our life. This is how we provide for the people we love, and we protect yours every day, and we educate them every day. So let's get this done. You know what I want, Mick? You know what I want, Dr. Snyder? I want to be walking with you to Trenton. I'm not calling you guys out. I'm saying in the spirit of partnership and go to those legislators. That's what Morristown should be spending their time doing. And let's go to them and let's talk to them about their school funding. That is the kind of crew. This is what we should be spending our time doing. I won't wear my red. I'll pick a different color, but let's exert our energy where it's worthwhile. Thank you. Thanks for giving me extra time.
And I asked already, but are there any other comments? Okay.
I'm Sarah Gerber. I live here in town. I have not received my full Morristown parent training. My kids are still little, so I'm still learning a lot. I came here really because I wanted to learn. I know this obviously has to be a very nuanced conversation, and all the professionals here and the board know so much more than I do. So I really wanted to come and learn, and this is my first board meeting in a long time. I was at senior doing stand-up at Audubon High School in 04. This is tough, and I so appreciate how personal it is, right? Because we work to get paid. The exception of that might be like nurses and teachers who, work to save lives. And I just think I understand the personal aspect, but I also don't live in a vacuum. And I think sometimes we do here in Morristown specifically. So I want to talk about the practical quickly, because like these teachers, if they don't get their contract, they're going to leave the district. These amazing students that I heard get up and speak, my kids are going to maybe have the same opportunity they do. That makes me sad, sad face. I also just feel like we're in an atmosphere where labor is more of a conversation. I think we need to respect that. The 9%, I thought 9 was a little high. I was coming in at 8. I don't think teachers are asking for 8, but everything's expensive. So I just think like, I would like to learn more. I also want my voice to be heard. I think it's important that we think about this, not just at the extremely emotional way, but also at the very logical way, that we don't want to lose these incredibly talented staff members. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Lisa O'Donnell, 145 Avon Terrace. I spoke at the last board meeting, so I won't run through my whole story about my son, Daniel, who's a junior. But I did want to address some of the things that were raised earlier by the president and superintendent, and words that I heard tonight were trust, fairness, equity, excellence, and inclusion. And coming from more of a corporate background than an education background, I see those as such important values. I mean, how can you argue with values, right? And they should be the goal of all of us, the citizens and educators and parents. But in my background, you could throw all these values out to the people that work with you and for you, but they don't really mean anything unless you have behaviors and goals for those behaviors. And I think that's what we're asking for tonight. I don't think there's any disagreement on those nice values, but there's definitely some space when it comes to the behaviors. And particularly what we've just gone through and we've talked about before, this just doesn't seem like the moment to try to fix the broken public education system in our state on the backs of the people here in this room. The last thing I want to say, and it is a little personal and it's a little bit about Daniel, but I just want you to take this away. Everybody gets a yearbook. I actually didn't buy one as freshman and sophomore year. It was COVID. They're expensive. I have 2 older kids and 100 yearbooks in my house already. But this year I bought the yearbook and he came home with it and threw it on the counter and was so excited. And I didn't really get a chance to look at it till yesterday morning when I was putting it back in his backpack to make sure he got something signed. And as the mom of a special education student, you can imagine I get a little nervous. Are people going to sign his yearbook? Is he going to sign theirs appropriately? Although I'm less nervous now because I know these teachers and I know that's not going to be an issue. My husband actually texted this to a couple of people last night. He heard me gasp as I went through the yearbook real quickly before I put it in the backpack. I got to the sports section, was just flipping through and introducing the sports section of the yearbook was the best hockey player. Forgive me if she isn't, but to me she is. The best basketball player, full page, double spread. And Daniel O'Donnell, the best unified soccer guy in my life. The value, Mr. Volpe, of inclusion, we have more work to do, and I am that mom that's always pushing for that. That spread was a student-edited piece. Students decided to put those 3 people front and center because these people, for the many years leading up to junior and senior year, had guided them on what the value of inclusion really means. And to me, you know, he could graduate tomorrow and we would feel really like this has been such a wonderful experience. I'm glad he doesn't because he still has more to go. But that is the value. And I guess I'm asking for the behavior back. Don't let these people go into this summer without a contract, please.
Trying to discern if people are going to the exit or coming to the microphone. Exit, okay. All right, we will then entertain a motion to close public comment. Second, all in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you. So this portion I will ask, is there anything for the good of the order? Chair recognizes Dr. Alberti.
Good evening. I will say, for those of you that are unaware or don't know me, I am a member of the Negotiations Committee of the Morristown Board of Education. I am officially, I think, the senior most member of the Board of Education and participated in the Negotiation Committee as chair during our last round of negotiations. Still moved by our meeting last month, I will share with you that I am the daughter of a public school teacher. I am a former teacher and an educator for 32 years now, 31 years, do the math. And I have a daughter who currently attends Morristown schools, and as I have shared with some of her teachers, she and I both consider many Morristown high school teachers as some of the best friends that she has right now. So I will tell you with full-throatedness that I support and I value what each and every one of you do every day. As a member of this negotiations committee, believe me, this job would be very easy if all we had to consider was the value and contributions that each and every one of you make every day. I know it, I see it, I've lived it, and I value it tremendously. That would be easy. There is more that we have to consider. What does it mean to be fair? What does it look like to engage in this process? There is, in fact, a process. Negotiations doesn't happen in this room. It doesn't happen on the streets of Main Street. It happens at the table. And speaking for myself as a very committed member to this committee, I'm proud of every one of the contributions of every single member of this committee in this process. We do want to settle this. We wanted to settle this months ago. There is no value or interest to any one of us as a board, as a member of this committee, to prolonging this process. Every comment that was made here wasn't of a surprise or a shock to us. We have seen you, we have heard you, we do value you. We don't want this to go on. We have 2 weeks left before the contract expires. It is absolutely our intention to be there for you, to have those conversations, not just hear what you have to say, but get to the negotiation table and get to a settlement. I said at the end of the last board meeting, I thought we were close. I still think we can get there, but it takes both sides to get to that settlement, to get to that negotiation. And, you know, whatever folks want to say about why we're not there, there is a process. We can't speak publicly about every single thing that's happening in negotiations, but know that many of the comments that we heard today from parents, from some of you about what's happening to the profession. I see it every day in my day-to-day job as well. Those are the same care and considerations that we are making in the decisions that we're making. We want you guys to have a good summer. You deserve a good summer, and we want to get to a settlement. And I just feel compelled to give our human side of this, to know that there's lots going on, but none of this is taken lightly. And, you know, we look forward to working with the MEA Negotiations Committee and hope to get, you know, you guys some good news by the end of the contract here.
Thanks, Dr. Alberti. Dr. Snyder.
No, yeah, I'll add. I just wanted to similarly echo, I don't know, it's this one. I was really heartened by everything I heard tonight, and similar to Sandra, it's not a surprise. I've lived it with my kids. I work in education. I taught high school in South Philadelphia. I know all too well the inequities that exist. And I don't need convincing of anyone's in this room value or what you do. And anyone who knows me, I hope knows that's true, but certainly that is absolutely the case. I don't take the cost benefit analysis of the effect that this process has on you or our kids and our students lightly. And I think about that in every day in the context of how all of this fits together. While I mean, clearly there is still a difference, I actually think there's much more that we agree on in the context of why we donate our time and do what we do. And tonight only makes me prouder that I've decided to volunteer my time to do what we do. So like I said, I have every intent to do exactly what we've been doing for the previous however many months. But it has nothing to do with, some perceived lack of value or anything like that. Quite the contrary. So.
Thank you, Dr. Snyder. Anybody else have anything for the good of the order at this point?
Thanks so much. I really appreciate, I'd like to echo what Sandra and Mark Snyder said. I feel all of the same deep feelings of value and appreciation for the teacher and broader staff community. And I also really appreciate all of the members of the community who came here tonight to speak up and share your feelings and beliefs. But I do have, I guess, I'd say some kind of concern, because I think that some of those statements that were made, that teachers are not getting equal pay and that we're paying the bare minimum and that we don't care and are not negotiating in good faith. Some of those are conclusions that can't be made with the publicly available information, because the terms of the negotiation are private and being handled by the negotiations committee. And I just wanted to echo what Mick said at the outset, that we are very clearly committed to negotiating responsibly and negotiating a fair contract. We have a commitment to the community at large to discharge our role and obligations as Board of Education members, and are exercising that in good faith. And I think maybe the last and most important point that I want to make is that I'm so incredibly proud of the students who got up to speak up, because that takes a lot of personal courage. And at the same time that I'm so proud of them, I'm also very saddened for our seniors, because in the spirit of transparency and being open and honest about how I feel, I am saddened and disheartened to hear that there are some teachers who may not go to graduation and some teachers who are not writing letters of recommendation for our students. I don't think that that's a tactic that will move us forward in a positive and productive way. And I just wanted to share that if that's the case, that's the way that I feel. So thank you for listening to me as I speak up, because for many months I was on the other side of the microphone, and now I have the privilege of being on the board.
Thank you, Ms. Macaluso. Is there anybody else? Okay. So, I'll just add, I think I said most of what I believe and felt at the beginning. One of the things I said at the beginning was, I appreciate hearing the stories, people sharing the anecdotes, telling what this means to people, showing the emotion. I could see how, some might think, oh, isn't that uncomfortable? It's not, because I feel the same way. My parents are both educators, over 50 years combined. I like to say I have a brother and a sister, also graduates of Morristown. I'm the oldest. I'm the only one who didn't teach in a classroom, but I've worked in education for over 20 years. I understand what it means to commit your life to education. I found, my way of trying to do it by working in the fields that I've worked in, working for the organizations that I've worked for. And also, it was a great accomplishment for me to get onto this board, because I wanted to contribute and give back in a community that's given me so much. I wanted it so badly that I suffered losing more times than I've won. And then I lost, and I wanted to come back during COVID, and people are, what is wrong with you? And that, by the way, those people are my wife. So, you know, while I am heartened to hear all of the support and share and echo all of the support, it's like Dr. Alberti and Dr. Snyder said, to suggest that we don't care. I mean, I understand where that sentiment may come from, but hopefully those of you I talk to, those of you I see, whether it's in the schools, those of you who have taught my children, those of you I talk to on Main Street, when it would have been just as easy to stay in my car or hide in the karate studio. But I want you to see that we understand, we see you, we appreciate you. And that does not take away from what we need to do together to get through this negotiation process. And I, like the others up here, want to spend the time and the effort on getting to this settlement, because like I said also in my opening remarks, didn't expect to be here at this point. Don't want to be here at this point. But we are here. And so we have 2 more weeks before this expires. So we're willing and we're ready to meet and continue to work this out, because we owe it, like I said, in fairness to you, to our students, to our community. So thanks for staying. I actually am appreciative of how many people are still here at this point. So, all right. Any other board members have any comments for the good of the order? All right. I'll entertain a motion for adjournment. Second. Second. Okay. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night. Get home safely.